Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Do you ever start with a kirtan or anything? Maybe somebody else can lead a kirtan for 5 minutes, and then we'll start at half an hour, huh?
Hare Krishna, Anuttama Prabhuji, Dhanot Pranam.
Haribo, I didn't know you'd moved to Pakistan.
I'm joining from Mayapur.
Okay.
So happy to see you, Prabhuji, and welcome to this Sangha. We are
Thank
very
you.
honored to have you here.
I'm pleased to be.
Okay, so who would like to lead Kirtan for 5 minutes? 3 to 4 minutes, and then we'll start at 8 o'clock. Would someone be willing to lead Kirtan for 3 to 4 minutes? Don't be shy, we invite you.
They're all shy. You better choose someone.
Okay. So the top left on my screen is Shobha Mataji. Would you like to lead?
Only one person will lead the kirtan and everybody should be muted. Okay. You can chant the kirtan, but like mute the microphone. Otherwise it will turn to cacophony rather than a kirtan. Okay.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Parshatya Deshvatari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Shubha Mataji, for leading Kirtan.
Thank you.
So, dear devotees, a heartiest welcome to everyone, and we are so privileged and honored to have with us His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. So let's heartily welcome Prabhuji to this Sangha in this Bhakti Shastri program of ISKCON Pakistan. So those of you who do not know Prabhuji, allow me to give a brief introduction. His Grace Anuttama Prabhuji is disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada initiated Anuttama Prabhuji in 1976 in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Prabhuji currently is Global Minister of ISKCON Communications, which means any crisis that happens in ISKCON, he's the go-to person of everyone. And Prabhuji has developed a very wonderful programs and educational programs. Prabhuji facilitated ISKCON Leadership and Management course. I personally have had the fortune of attending those courses from Prabhuji. Prabhuji also facilitates ISKCON Communications course. Prabhuji trains many Diksha Gurus. Prabhuji trains many sannyasis. Prabhuji has initiated ISKCON Environmental Project. As a global minister of communications, Prabhuji also takes care of a lot of interfaith programs, lot of presenting ISKCON's voice on a global stage. So, along with our Grace Rukmani Mataji, Prabhuji has also founded Children of Krishna Network. He has also established Grihastha Vision Team. So Prabhuji has been serving on the GBC board. Prabhuji is also a governing body commissioner of ISKCON. And how many of you have ever opened that website, iskonnews.com? Are you aware of this website, iskonnews.com? So Prabhuji, as a part of ISKCON Communication Ministry, he has developed and launched that website and is continuously maintaining and working to develop that website, iskonnews.com, regarding various issues of this material world that creeps in even in ISKCON society, just like the child abuse, the home domestic abuse, any such incident that happened. Prabhuji represents those voice, establishes systems to take care of all of those aspects, a very, very crucial service for all the devotees around the world. If you ever get a chance to read the Vyas Puja offerings, every year Prabhuji writes such revealing, such wonderful Vyas Puja offerings. I happen to read them every year. I look forward to reading Prabhuji's Vyas Puja offering every year. And specifically, Prabhuji's name start with A, so it's in the beginning of Vyas Puja. So it's really a matter of great fortune that we are getting this association. So it's an online program, and during online program we may do a lot of other stuffs. But if you're doing any other stuff, drop it. Uh, just be fully focused, present, and if you can switch on your cameras, please switch on your cameras. Show us, give us your darshans as well. We want to have a very lively classroom connection here. So let's welcome Prabhuji once again by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Premanjana Prabhu, for such a kind introduction. But if I know you took the communications course, we talk in there, there should be no flattery. I think your talk was just full of flattery. So you're going to have to take that course over again so I can reteach you how to do appropriate introductions. Thank you. That was very kind. Premanjana and I, also Bimal Prasad Prabhu, we've known each other for many years, and I've had the honor of facilitating several courses that they both attend, and maybe some others of you as well. So it's my great pleasure to know them both. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I have to follow up with both of you about some possible dialogue in India coming up in December or
Sure,
January.
Prabhuji.
We'll follow up on that. So thank you all for being here. Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bicharnane Rasesha Shinivani Pastajaristarne. So let me just ask you a couple of questions before we start, so I'm clear. So we want to go till 90 minutes or 120 minutes? I wasn't completely clear what everybody's time is.
120 minutes is what generally we are like, that's the stipulated time, but
Okay.
we are very much willing to go beyond that.
Okay, so full 2 hours, yes? 2 hours.
Sure,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
All right. So and also initially I was asked to kind of choose one of some different very beautiful Krishna conscious concepts, more philosophical concepts, and then I thought, okay, maybe better I do something that I have a little more experience on, and maybe I don't want to say singular expertise, but maybe something you haven't studied so much, which is communication. So I thought maybe what we'll do, some of this will be familiar to the two gentlemen I mentioned. I'm going to touch on some of the things from a communications perspective, but looking at it more broadly and how in all of our human interactions we can use communications. In some parts of the world, we have different audiences, we have different opportunities to interact with people. Other parts of the world, it's defined differently just by our circumstances. So talk about how some of those things can apply to us. And then maybe have a little bit of an exercise. Maybe I'm going to try something online. I don't know if I've ever done this before. We'll see if it works, but I was told that this is possibly the most highly intelligent Sangha of Vaishnavas on the planet. So I thought we'll give you a nice challenge to see how you can do with this little exercise that I'm thinking we'll try. So we'll see how it goes. So let me start I already offered the basics to Prabhupada. Let me offer my basics to all of you. Vanchakalpataruvischa kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So for our Shastrics foundation, I'm going to read from the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Divisions of Faith, text number 15. I'm assuming here, Premanjan, everybody speaks English, so my American language is not too much of a barrier, but maybe you remind me to speak slowly, right? No translation going on in the background in Urdu or anything else, right? Okay. Okay. Anudvegakanam vakyam Satcham Priya Hitam Chayat Svadhyayabhyasanam Chaiva Vanmayam Tapa Uchate. Translation. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing. It's interesting, truthful listed first. Speaking words that are truthful. So we all know we take our 4 vows in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes I feel we don't emphasize enough that the 4 do nots reflect 4 do's, which is truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, and austerity. Or sometimes we say self-discipline. So we've taken a vow to be austere and to be self-disciplined. So here, Krishna is defining what it means to be austere in speech. So he says, speaking words that are truthful as the first thing. And we know that's the last pillar of religion that's lost, that's still there. It's the last one that has not yet been completely lost, although it's certainly under attack in the world today. The need to be truthful. So, again, austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. The word's full of agitating words, isn't it? Everybody wants to agitate everybody else, but Krishna says, no, 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 we shouldn't do that. And also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. Prabhupada's purport commentary. One should not speak in such a way to agitate the minds of others. It's interesting. That's his first comment in that purport, and that's a full stop. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth from the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. I know some of you are medical students. I'm not giving any commentary about any of your professors. This is strictly reading Prabhupada's purport, so don't apply it in an inappropriate way. Don't criticize your professors. They may not be following Bhagavad Gita so strictly. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So we're going to talk a little bit about communications, how to communicate better, how to communicate more effectively, what it means as devotees, and how we can serve Krishna in our communications. So I put together a PowerPoint, which we'll look at in a minute, but I just want to start out, and you have your chat. Everybody has access to the chat. So we're going to use that a few times during this session. I'll ask you some questions and ask you to respond there. So I want to first start out by thanking everybody for your participation, your coming here. As Premanjana mentioned, I'm the communications director for ISKCON globally, based in North America. You may or may not be aware that in 2026, we'll actually be celebrating the 60th anniversary of ISKCON. It was formed in 1966 by Srila Prabhupada in New York City. If any of you get an opportunity sometime during your lives to visit North America, it's a beautiful place to visit. The very first ISKCON temple, 26 Second Avenue. You may remember it had a big sign over the top, matchless gifts from the previous owner. Sold matches like they say matchbox, like you'd light a candle with a match. So somehow or other they had a business. They had like a box of little box of matches with customized. I think I can understand why they went out of business. I don't know how you make a business selling matches, all painted boxes. But either way, Krishna arranged it so they would have this nice name over ISKCON's first temple. So that's there. You can visit that place. And also the following year, anybody know what the following year is? You can put it in the chat if you know what the following year is. Another commemoration. Not so much a celebration, but we want to commemorate that next year. What is that next year? Nobody knows? Okay, so we'll give you a hint. It's 60 and then 50. What is the 50? Bimala Prasad is shaking his head up and down like he knows, but he hasn't put it in the chat yet. What is the 50?
50th anniversary of initiation.
50th anniversary of like then.
It's the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada's departure.
Yes, that will be
Prabhupada's
good.
Tirubhav. Yeah. So 2026, this year actually is the anniversary of Prabhupada's arriving out of India. Arrived first in America and then went around the world. That was this year. Next year, very big deal, the 60th anniversary of ISKCON. The year after that is the 50th, the year we commemorate the 50th year that Srila Prabhupada left this world. So that's also a very, very big event. So a lot of important things are happening in this global community of ISKCON. And of course, we know, depending on the situation, when we manifest that participation in different ways, that doesn't matter. Prabhupada mentioned many, many times that what really matters is how we are offering our hearts to Krishna. In certain parts of the world, we can more openly or less openly express our Krishna consciousness, but we can always express and develop our Krishna consciousness in our hearts. So that's very, very important to remember. So I want to talk about how it is that we can communicate as devotees of Krishna, how we can learn to be better communicators, how we can understand this instruction from Krishna about austerity of speech. We're going to even talk about austerity of listening, which is even sometimes more important than what comes out here is what goes in here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you can just please put in the chat, everybody, what do you understand communications is? Just put a brief definition of what you would understand communications is, so we have a starting point. There it is. Okay, a way to deliver something. Okay, thank you, Tulsi. In a good way. A form of expression, yes. We need more. Everybody, please put something in the chat. A way knowing something or someone to convey your thoughts and words to others. Very good. Very good. Anybody else? To exchange thoughts with one another. Very good. To exchange our thoughts. Okay. Expressing the thoughts. Portray their personality. Explore something to others. Good. Now you're moving quickly. Great. A mode of expressing oneself. Somebody copies something. Communication is a process of exchanging ideas, understand each other, sharing information, ideas, or feelings. Great. Communication to Krishna consciousness. I want to read that one. Means using our speech, thoughts, and actions to help remember Krishna and help others remember him too. Nice. Expressing our heart, listening from the heart, which fosters connection, builds community. Thank you, Pramanjana Prabhu. Couple more, then we'll deliver ideas, expressing and listening. Nice to hear somebody emphasize listening. To share emotions and expressions. Great. A way to convey messages, exchange of thoughts. Fantastic. All very good ideas. So let me go ahead and share. I just put this together this morning, actually. It's morning time where I am. And let's see if this is going to open up properly. Okay, I have to go to slideshow. Play from the start. Okay, can you see that? Okay, and you can still hear me? Okay,
Yes.
great. So, just some communication insights, principles, and guidelines, okay, for us to how we can apply as devotees. So, and let's see, I'm seeing, Premanjan, I'm going to turn off, if I can, oops, I'm going to turn off, because I'm seeing everybody here is kind of blocking. How do I do that? It's blocking the screen a little bit. I'm moving you to the side, so I won't be able to see if anybody raises their hand or whatever. It'll be a little harder, so I'm going to let you be my eyes and ears. Actually, I can't see the screen too well. Anyway, we'll do this. Okay. So basically, what you've said, expand a little bit, perhaps. Communications, we're talking about how to share information, thoughts, and feelings. Some of you mentioned our emotions and our feelings. Very important, because oftentimes people talk about communications means sharing ideas, but we have to understand what's the feeling behind that idea as well. If I'm sharing that, I'm uncomfortable because the room is too warm and I'm angry about that, that's a lot more important than I'm expressing that the room's too hot, but I'm happy with it, right? So you need to know what are the feelings behind that as well. And then I added this to promote, as far as us within devotee communities especially, and with everybody we interact with, to promote healthy understanding and the sense of community, right? We have, in English at least, communications and community. Those words are clearly connected. We want to use good communications to help promote a sense of healthy community, and to advance, and here's where I got to move things around, to advance our Krishna conscious goals. Somebody had mentioned this in their definition. what they put in the chat boxes to help us advance in Krishna consciousness. And one thing that's, I think, kind of important that sometimes devotees lose out on is take some balance. Sometimes in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, it's like, well, I have my life, but then I want to have a Krishna conscious life. So I do that on Friday or Saturday or Sunday or whatever today is in the morning for a couple hours, and the rest of my life is over there. Or sometimes devotees, they jump into their spiritual experience and like they stop talking to their relatives, or they can't maintain their job if they need to. If they're grahasta, or like many of you, they're young students, they have a hard time. How do I understand spiritual life? It just seems so all encompassing, but then how am I supposed to go to work or go to school or like that? And as we mature in Krishna consciousness, like it mentions here, communications to advance our Krishna conscious goals. Everything that we do in life can become enhanced through Krishna consciousness. Ideally, you should be a better mother, a better daughter, a better brother, a better father, a better employee, a better employer because of Krishna consciousness, because it helps us overcome gradually over. I just read the other day, I think it was maybe in the teachings of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada said that, a paraphrase, he says, people often ask, how do I know if I'm advancing in spiritual life? And he said, it's quite easy. If you're becoming free from envy and jealousy, you're advancing in spiritual life. And if you have lots of envy and lots of jealousy, you need to work on your spiritual life. It's not, sometimes you think, oh, am I manifesting my love of Radha and Krishna? Do I just want to go to the temple and sit all day long and chant? Am I just so enthusiastic to study all day long? Probably those are, of course, wonderful things. But at least in this place, Prabhupada said, if you actually advance, it's simple to tell. Are you becoming free from envy and jealousy? So we want to learn how to communicate in a way that we can care for others, protect others, promote healthy communities, and to advance our own Krishna conscious goals by sharing information, thoughts, and feelings. Okay. So let's see if I can get this. Okay, great. So we talk about in communications 5 principles. So the one, as devotees, whatever way we communicate, and we're going to talk about who we're going to communicate to in a minute, but that we should always try to be consistent with Prabhupada's teachings and example. And we know sometimes we refer to Prabhupada as the greatest communicator. He was so much concerned with, you talk with Prabhupada's devotees that were sannyasis when Prabhupada was there, physically there. He gave them so much attention and personal coaching and counseling. And if you read some of the books, there's some books been published recently, Prabhupada and his daughters. You read about how Prabhupada interacted with his Vaishnavi lady disciples, and he was so caring and so loving and so attentive to their needs. And then you see pictures of Srila Prabhupada giving cookies to little children, and then you see pictures of Prabhupada talking to, big scholars and religious leaders. And I was just in Italy, in Milan. They had beautiful display of photos of Srila Prabhupada in their prasadam room. And they had a picture I haven't seen in years, Prabhupada talking to a Catholic nun. And then so many different pictures of Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was very, very interested in building relationships and talking with people from different perspectives. There's actually even a letter to the Catholic Pope at that time. Prabhupada wrote a letter to, can't remember his name at that time, Paul, perhaps, Paul the Sixth, I think, maybe. And basically, and Bimal's shaking his head, Prabhupada basically introduced himself as a monk of an Indian tradition. And then he said, you're the head of a great spiritual order. Let's work together in trying to promote God consciousness. And we know, those of you that know a little bit about the Catholic Church, is the biggest Christian church. They don't follow any of our principles. They're not vegetarian. They don't have a problem with meat, with intoxication. There's no restriction for them against gambling. They're pretty strict. They're strict on some other things. They're very strict about against abortion officially, and they're strong supporters of the family and no sex outside of marriage at least. So a lot of things we don't have in common. But Prabhupada was very enthusiastic to work on the commonalities and to work together. So when we talk about being consistent with Prabhupada's teaching and example, we have to read Prabhupada's books, and we have to see how Prabhupada not only taught, but how did he act in the world? How did he interact with a sense of respect and mutual appreciation with the people he interacted with? So second principle, this is true with everybody. This is with your kids, this is with your mom, this is with your neighbors, everybody. We should consider time, place, and circumstance. In other words, if you're speaking on this call with your Hare Krishna friends, you're obviously going to communicate a little differently than you would with your professors or with your grandparents or something like that. Srila Prabhupada often emphasized this time, place, and circumstance in terms of how we deal with people. There's a kind of a funny story of Srila Prabhupada. One time, he spoke to a class of young children. They were maybe 12 or 13, non-devotee kids. And he was sitting on some stage and he asked them, he said, is there an intelligent student amongst you? And they all pointed to this one boy with, big thick glasses and, the brains of the group. And they all pointed, yeah, him. So he went down on the stage and stood up next to Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked some very simple questions. He said, point to your head. The boy did. And he said, point to your elbow. He did. And he said, point to your knee. And he did that. And the boy was starting to think, wait a minute. What do you need the most intelligent kid in class to come up and answer these questions? These are pretty simple. But then Prabhupada asked him the tough question. He said, point to yourself. He'd already pointed to his head. He'd already pointed to his elbow. He'd pointed to his waist. He pointed to his knee. He was confused, didn't know what to do. So then Prabhupada told him to sit down. So then he used that as an example. You're not the body. Now we know at other times Prabhupada spoke to professors at big universities. And he would not say, is there an intelligent professor, excuse me, anywhere in the room, anybody out there? Please come down on stage. Dr. So-and-so, Nobel Prize winning candidate for biophysics, please point to your head, point to your elbow, point to your knee, point to your... He wouldn't do that, right? Time, place, and circumstance. So we have to ask ourselves, why is it sometimes we try to communicate the same thing to a totally different audience? We have to ask ourselves, what's the time, the place, and the circumstance, and communicate accordingly. So that's a principle. We'll come back to that more. Next one is proactivity. I think from what I saw now, I can't see everybody on the screen. Most of you seem pretty young people. So you don't have, like I do, grandchildren, or most of you don't have kids now. Some of you probably do. But if you're going to communicate with your kids or with anybody, you need to be proactive. That means you have to take the initiative according to time, place, and circumstance. There may be people you don't take the initiative with. I was recently traveling and was driving to New Vrindavan in America, and I stopped to use the public restrooms along the highway. And there was some people there that just were dressed in a way that I felt like they probably wouldn't appreciate my Hare Krishna message. So I just smiled and said, have a nice day. Other people, maybe I would communicate with them a little differently according to time, place, and circumstance. So I need to be proactive. If I have a conflict with a god sister or a god brother or an authority, I have to be proactive and try to resolve it. I can't just let it fester. That's what this means. I had a situation once, I'll share a story. I went to Boston. They were in a big legal case, and I went there. I was supposed to go out to try to contact the media, which was the appropriate thing to do in that place. And I had 3 devotees in a row. I'd never been to that temple before. 3 devotees in a row told me, don't waste your time. They don't like us. They never write good articles. They're unfavorable, et cetera, et cetera. And I called up the local, what they have of somebody who covers religion. In that town, they had a religion reporter, and invited him to come to the temple. We had a very nice conversation. He spent a couple hours. And then he told me, he said, I've been the religion reporter. I remember the number. I've been the religion reporter in this city for 17 years. It's the first time anyone's ever invited me to this temple. So here's, devotees are all convinced they don't like us, but they never had been proactive. So I just offer that as an example. We may think, well, this other devotee in the community, they don't like me, but sometimes we have to take it upon ourselves to build that relationship, okay? Fourth principle, building interdependent relationships. A short way of this is win-win. And I hope some of you are taking some notes here. I can make the slides available later, but maybe take some notes. It means win-win. So if I have a disagreement with Premanjana Prabhu, and I'm trying to work it out, I have to think it's not about I'm going to dominate him and he's going to agree to everything I want because I'm a good communicator. No, I'm communicating. I'm going to look for what we call a win-win relationship, win-win solution. Okay. And then the last one is very, 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 very important. All of the above is depending on exemplary character and behavior. If you're having a disagreement with your brother or your sister, and you come to some conclusion, I promise I won't do this. But if you're not a person who keeps your promises, how are you going to come up with some solution? It's not going to work. So these are our 5 principles we apply in any communication circumstance. We're trying to express our thoughts, our feelings, ideas. As we said in the previous slide, we're trying to build healthy sense of community, trying to help ourselves and others in their Krishna consciousness. In order to do that from a communications perspective, these 5 principles. We have to look to Prabhupada as our example. We have to consider time, place, and circumstance. Just because you talk to your friend in a certain way doesn't mean you talk to your mom, your mother in that same way. Okay, proactive. You can't wait for things to happen. Sometimes we judge time and place that we should be a little quiet or withdrawn. But if it is a situation that requires, taking some action, we should be a little proactive in a sensitive way, with the goal of building win-win relationships based on our character and behavior. Okay, so here's an important term for all of you to think about: key audiences. Premanjana Prabhu. Well, actually, it's on the slide. Go ahead, in your own words, give us a definition of key audiences in general, not who they are, just what they are.
Those who can help us, those who can hurt us.
Very good. Very good. So, like, let's say you're a university student, your professor they can help you, right? Thumbs up, or they can hurt you, right? So it's a good thing to build a good relationship with them and to communicate with them. So they're considered a key audience. Okay, and I listed some of those. Our friends and our family are key audiences. They have an impact on how we're doing in life. If those of us are married, our spouse, our children, very important. Our teachers or professors, the boss if we're working, person we work under, our fellow devotees. There may be others. I can't see the chat box, but let's just put in the chat. Who else do you think in your circumstance might be a key audience for you to communicate to? Those who can help you or can hurt you, either in your development of your secular goals or your spiritual goals. And Premanji, you read those to me because I can't see the chat box, okay? And you're muted right now. I don't know if anybody's putting any up. Just for in your own lives, all of the devotees here, just 1 or 2 key audiences. Who would be important for you? They could be different from what I put here or the same. Any popping up, Premanjana? You can say them out loud.
Parents, and mostly are writing same.
Same. I don't know same. Who's same?
Roshni Kumari said parents are one of the key audience. And Tulsi says key audience can be family too. Co-workers, Riya is mentioning. Karuna Mataji saying colleagues, family, friends. Somebody who's very close to our heart can help us as well as can hurt us. Jaya Tulsi Mataji is saying.
Very
A spouse, children, family and friends, neighbors, managers, friends.
Very good. Very good. Because
Um,
friends, they can encourage us or they can discourage us.
That's an interesting one. Say mentors.
What is it, Bhima Paro?
One of them punched in mentors. Mentor
Mentors.
can help me.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an
Yes.
interesting one.
Very good. Very good. Yeah,
friends,
because what is it, Premanjan?
Our friends, family, and circles with person whom we are working with, with whom
Yes.
we can easily communicate. Strangers we meet, Kapil Vats has mentioned. Maheshwat Mukherjee is mentioning coach, leader.
Coaches, good. Good. Thank you.
Uh,
That's a nice list.
Usha is mentioning opponents, maybe because they challenge, which indirectly help us to grow.
Very nice. Good. So there's a lot of different key audiences out there. And part of what we need to do as conscious devotees is to be aware of who are the most important key audiences for us. Because we may not, you can't work on your relationship. Well, you can. You can't work on your relationship in great detail with every neighbor, with every friend, with every colleague, with every coworker. So it's important that we're a little bit aware of who's particularly important. Just like today, I'll acknowledge I'm a Grahasta, so my grandson is involved in a championship soccer game at his school. So for me, he's a key audience. I want to try to set some enhance my relationship with him. So normally I don't stop all my service at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but today it stops. I jump in the car, I drive to the other school to cheer him on because he's a key audience for me. And his needs, interests, concerns are very different from mine. But he needs to see family support. He needs to see people care about who he is. So in my role as a grandfather, I need to invest some time because he's a key audience for me. Okay, so then let's go on here. So in other words, we define it differently according to our situation in life. Bhima Prasad Prabhu may have, I'm sure he does have some god brothers who he's very, very close to. And if he sees someone's having a difficult time, he'll stop everything else he's supposed to do and spend a few hours with that person. There may be other people, maybe he doesn't have so much of influence on, he'll talk to like someone else and say, "Hey, did you notice Vishnu's concerned? I think it'd be good if you could spend some time with them." So we need to be sensitive to those things. Okay, a few more kind of theory, then we'll get into some practice. Super important. How do we influence these people? How do we communicate to these people? So, you can say, well, it's important to do it. Great. We all kind of know that, right? It's important to communicate with your kids or your friends or your coworkers. But how do we do it in a way that's going to be effective? So we're going to teach you a secret mantra here that's not so secret. Okay? And Premanjana and Bimal Prasad Prabhu know that mantra. What is that mantra, Premanjana Prabhu?
Needs, interest, and concerns.
Yeah, see, it's not so secret. Even he knows it. See? Okay. Here's the mantra. Needs, interests, and concerns. Let's focus on that box to the left. In this world, we all tend to think and focus about what's important for me, isn't it? Even if we're devotees. So in other words, the police department is concerned about security, right? The neighbors have different concerns. Let's put in the chat again. Some of you mentioned their key audience for us. What are some of the things that are important for your neighbors? What's something that they need or that they're interested in and they're concerned about? Not what you're interested in. What's important for your neighbors? Let's do this a little bit in the chat box. Paramanjana, you're muted again, so I'll let you read those to us.
Yes, I'm waiting for someone's response.
Okay, everybody type in 2 or 3 words there. What's important to your neighbors? What are their needs, interests, and concerns?
Common ground to communicate, interest, hobbies. They need time and attention, empathy, being available when they need, kindness, time, attention, good bond. Social security, friendly behavior, be supportive, to help them and deal with them in a respectful manner. We should care for our neighbors when they need, build trust, best bonds when available, cooperation, sharing, maintenance of surrounding, community work, understanding.
Okay,
Uh,
good. Let's
pleasant,
highlight a few of those. Every human being needs understanding. So that's good. And everybody needs empathy. Let's highlight a few of those, and maybe Paranjana, you can put these in the chat box. So some of you mentioned they need respect. That's very important. Some of you mentioned they need I think I heard friendliness, right? Everybody likes to have friendly neighbors. Somebody mentioned empathy, which is kind of another example. Another thing that neighbors need, well, somebody mentioned, I think, like clean surroundings. Did somebody mention that? If you have a neighbor, do your neighbors want you to like open your door and throw your trash in front of their door? That's important for them. Neighbors generally they're concerned about safety in the neighborhood. They're concerned about their children, isn't it? That they have a safe and a happy environment. They're concerned about, sometimes it depends. Sometimes, in the local culture, they like to know their neighbors really well. Sometimes they're more private. I know I have some devotee friends in Sweden. I think you'll get a laugh out of this being from South Asia. They said, and the way some of the houses are built, like you have a house next to one another, an apartment. So your door opens onto some ledge, and their door's next door and opens up. So these devotees told me they had moved from Germany and Italy. It was a Grahasta couple. And they said they couldn't figure out every time they went on their porch, if the neighbor's door opened, it would slam shut. So they'd start to go out and the neighbor's door would like slam shut. And then I realized in that culture, there's a sense of we want to respect your privacy. So if you come out to leave your house, we should respect you and not like whatever, 4 or 5 of us are going down the same steps at the same time. I was saying this is exact. I've not had the pleasure, the honor of visiting Pakistan, but other South Asian countries I've met, it's a very different culture. If you open the door and there's nobody there, it's like, great, you run out fast, right? So, but they couldn't figure out. They thought these people were so unfriendly. But it was just a different culture. They were trying to give them the space they needed. So we need to think in terms of what are the other person's needs, interests, and concerns. For instance, we may think that I love playing kirtan. I don't know the situation of your neighborhoods, but maybe my needs, interests, and concerns are to play a loud kirtan. Okay? My neighbors don't like a loud kirtan. So I have to think not in terms of what I need, but I have to think in terms of what they need. um, in where I live in America, sometimes we'll have like Harinam parties. We'll go out, devotees will go out and chant different venues or programs. And years ago, they would kind of put everybody in the back of a van and we would all go together. And then at some point, people started realizing, well, the ladies with little babies, that's not the most comfortable thing for them. So maybe we need to think about what they need. Or if we want to get people on to go out to some program, it's not just a question that temple authority says you should go, but how do we make it attractive for devotees? What do they need? Okay, well, there's halava and pakoras after the event. Or, there's a well-known kirtaniya is going to be leading the program or something like that. So we think in terms of what does the other party need? What are their needs, interests, and concerns? And not because the tendency, so, but let me ask you, we tend to think in terms of whose needs, interests, and concerns naturally. And you're on the top of my screen, so I get to pick on you and Premanjana and Bhima Prasad Prabhu. Can you hear Soba? You can unmute. Who do we think of in terms of needs, interests, concerns? Do we think of
My needs, interests, concerns. Of course, my needs and concerns.
think of my needs, interests, concerns, right? But if Bhima Prasad and I have a conversation and he's talking about what he needs, and I'm talking about what I need, he wants the temperature of the room hotter. I want it colder. He wants the kirtan louder. I want it softer. He wants to do this. I want to do that. I have to try to understand what is Bhima Prasad. What are his needs, interests, and concerns? If I'm going to communicate effectively to build community, to build relationships, to promote my Krishna consciousness, I need to practice this understanding the needs, interests, and concerns of others. Okay? So I want each of you now privately, you don't have to put this on chat. If you have a piece of paper or however you like to record information, your phone, if you use that, whatever, computer. Write down two key audiences in your life. Who are two individuals, or you could say a group, like you could say neighbors, maybe. It could be like, who are two specific audiences, individual or group, who can really help you or hurt you in your life, whether it's your secular life or your spiritual life. So just write that down. Who do you think of those two key audiences? I'll give you just 30 seconds for that, and then we're going to give you a little more exercise. Okay. Now, underneath each of those, I want you to make a list of what are their needs, interests, and concerns. What's important for them? So let's say some of you put, whatever, my younger brother. Okay. So what is he interested in? Maybe you're interested in Bharatanatyam dance, but he's interested in football. Maybe you're interested in whatever. You like sweets, he likes spicy foods. Just put what is he interested in? What's important to him as an example. So list a whole bunch of things, 8 or 10 things. Each one of you take a couple minutes, write down what are the needs, interests, and concerns of each of those two key audiences that you wrote down. Okay, is that clear? Any questions on that, what we're doing? Pramanjana, can you see?
May
Okay,
I
go
add
ahead.
some?
Voice.
Yeah, it's just like I just request the devotees, they are writing their like key audiences in the chat. So
No, no, don't write in the chat.
that's what they're doing.
Sorry, I wasn't clear. I want each of you to write down on a piece of paper or on your phone or in your computer separately, who are those two main key audience? No harm if you did it in chat, but just also write it down on a piece of paper. And then underneath each one of those two or three, write what are their needs, interests, and concerns. And they should be very different. Okay, is that clear?
Devotees, if something is unclear, you can type your question in the chat section. You can raise your hand and ask. Okay.
Please. I can see Aruna Kumar is thinking very deeply. She's writing very nicely. Veena Kumari, she's also writing very nicely. Again, who's your two of your key audiences? And then list a whole bunch of what are their needs, interests, and concerns. What's important to them? I'll give you 2 or 3 more minutes. Okay. Anybody want to share? We don't have time to ask everybody, but maybe one or two volunteers want to mention. This is my key audience. Just to mention one, and who, what you felt their needs, interests, and concerns were. And I can't see everybody. Bimo, can you see everybody or no?
Not everybody, but yeah, because like 80 plus devotees. So
Oh, 80 plus. That's nice. Hare Krishna.
yeah,
We only had about 30, 40 when we started. That's good.
yeah, it's
Okay.
like 85 actually. So
Okay, very good. Well, then I empower you to pick somebody or pick on somebody or choose someone or ask,
oh,
you choose the hands that come up as volunteers. Who'd
yeah,
like
there
to?
are volunteers. I don't see volunteers. Maybe Jai Tulsi, in the interest of time.
Uh, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dandat Pranams. What I have to share, like, I have wrote about two persons. I have to share about one, right? Or both?
Please,
Huh?
please, yes.
Yes. One that I have wrote about my sister, Deen Pavni Gaurpriya Devidasi. Uh, she needs testi prasadam, many clothes, and her interests are she loves to like she desires to visit like India for visiting like Mayapur and Vrindavan, and her concerns are she's so much concerned about like her friends and also me, that whenever we need something like especially related to prasad and all. So this is what I have wrote about my sister.
Very nice. So then when you are communicating with her, if you keep her interests in mind, then you'll be more effective communicating. If you talk to her about football or polar bears or Russian fashion, maybe she like Russian fashion because she's fashionable. So we need to think in terms of what's their needs, interests, and concerns, right?
Yes, and
Okay,
that's
good.
more effective.
Okay. Bimo, you want to choose another?
Right. There's a hand up. Kashish Tarani. Rakhi Mataji, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. I have written about my kids. Like when they don't listen, like they need privacy. They want freedom, and I want to make my daughter a doctor, but she chooses commerce, and she is concerned when I get upset. But sometimes she doesn't listen, and that makes me hurt also.
That makes you hurt. So you're thinking about, thank you for giving me a wonderful opportunity to point that out. We're asking about her needs, interests, and concerns. You're really sharing at least part of it is your needs, interests, concerns. I want her to be a doctor. When I try to talk to her, I get upset because she gets upset. So one thing we want to try and understand, I'm going to stop the sharing so I can start it again properly. Let's see. What we want to try to talk about, what we want to try to understand is that, okay. Let's say I'm a grahasta, so let's say I want to communicate with my wife. And I tell her, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. You make me feel like this, you make me feel like that, you make me feel like this. Who's the focus of my communications? Jai Tulsi, Devi Dasi. Now you're on the top of my screen, so I get to ask you questions now. Who's that communications about that I just shared?
You shared about your wife.
Yeah, but who was I talking about?
Uh,
Was I talking about her? I was talking about me.
you were talking about yourself, like you were talking to your wife about your needs.
Yes, which
Uh,
which she has a little interest in, but she's got more interest in herself. Sometimes devotees, we think we're all so transcendental, but there's an expression like, they have different kinds of radio stations, right? In America, at least, they have like AM radio and FM radio. So every radio station like WBC FM or WXYZ. So they say the most popular radio station is WIIFM, which stands for What's in It for Me. The nature of the human being, until we're pure devotees of Krishna and we're just thinking about what's good for him, we think about what's in it for me, and we communicate that. So if I meet Bimla Prasad and I'm talking about what I want, he's talking about what he wants, there's no win-win. So to be a more effective communicator, we need to understand the needs, interests, and concerns of others. And we need to communicate that and to be able to look for a win-win. I'll give you an example. In some parts of the world, let's say like in the United States, I've helped organize some Rath Yatra festivals. So if I go to the person who gives a permit for a festival, and I say, dear Mr. Smith, please give us a permit for this festival because it'll please my Guru Maharaj, because Lord Jagannath will benefit all the conditioned souls in our city, because it'll my temple president will probably praise me in front of everybody else, because I'll get the Maha plate in celebration of the success, and because I'll get to sing nicely and show off to everybody what a good singer I am in the parade. If I say that to the government officer trying to give me a permit, is he going to appreciate what I just said? Who can say? They're going to appreciate it. Bina Kumari, now I can see you on my screen. Is the government officer going to appreciate what I just said? And if not, why not? If you can answer that. Bina Kumari, Prabhu, Mataji. Yeah, you know how to, can you turn off your mute? Or anybody else that can undo your mute? There it goes. Okay, now you can speak. Now we can hear you. Yes, Bina
Yes,
Kumari.
Prabhuji, they will not appreciate if it is about like own concern. If we also care about other person needs concern, like in this world, always a person needs something from other person in exchange. So then they will exist.
Yes, thank you. Perfect answer. So as an example, if I'm going to go, where I'm in America, if I go to talk to a government official, I'm going to talk about what's important to them. So I'm going to talk about public safety. I'm going to talk about noise levels. We're going to be very careful that that we follow all the rules of the parade. We're going to have some security officers to help to control the crowd. We're going to make sure that we don't go on people's private property. We're going to start on time. We're going to stop on time. They don't care so much about Jagannath and my guru. That's not important. But there's certain things that are important for them. If I express what I want, please give me permission for this parade in the terms that they understand: safety, health, quiet, security, then they'll be much more likely to sign that. Let's say you're a parent and you think your children should study more. So you can tell them, when I was your age, I studied very hard. My mother would never have tolerated all the things that I let you do. All of the other children in school are doing so much better than you. Actually, according to the Bhagavad Gita, you should actually be studying so many hours in a day, etc., etc. It's all about me and my perception. It's not going to, but if I try to understand what's important for them, I hope I can help you study better tonight. You know that it'll be very important because I know you want to get into this good school. I know how important it is for you to get good grades because that's what you want to do. Maybe on the weekend we can take Saturday off after you've got all your homework done. We can go visit some family, or we can watch a special, Krishna conscious movie after you finish your homework. You try to offer something that addresses their needs, interests, and concerns. Does that make sense? Sometimes when we're doing this like face to face, we can get into more examples, but online, I'll have to trust that you're all paying attention and getting some sense of it. So think in terms of your audiences. Keep that list handy. Next time you want to talk to those people, talk in terms of what's their needs, interests, and concerns, and they'll be much more interested. For instance, if I want to have like a party in my neighborhood, again, I just use examples I'm familiar with. If I go to the neighbor and I say, please, we want to close down the street and have a little festival, and I explain to them in terms of, again, it's going to please my temple authorities, it's going to please my guru, blah, 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 blah. They're not so interested. But if I say we're going to make sure the noise ends on time, there's going to be face painting for the children, there's going to be a clown for the children, there's going to be free food for all the neighbors. We're going to make sure that we leave the street even cleaner than it was before we started. Those are the things the neighbors are concerned about. So you have to think in terms of what's important to them. Same thing whether it's your boss or friends, whatever. Okay, let's go on. Okay, let's see. Oh, why is it not letting me move? There we go. Okay, so I thought we'd try something with some listing. Let me turn this off for a second. So when we think of communication, a lot of times we just think in terms of what I'm speaking, right? I have to speak better. I have to communicate better. I see there's two hands up there. We'll take a question in just a second. But let's imagine, I'm sure they have in Pakistan, I've seen it in other places, where there's somebody on a rickshaw and they're driving down the street with a big sound system, and they're so loud the whole block is disturbed, right? Now, they may think they're communicating very effectively. We would question whether they're communicating effectively. They're making a lot of noise. Let me ask this. Let me ask a question of okay, Tulsi, I see you in the corner of my screen. Tulsi, if you can turn off the mute. Let's say, Tulsi, if I'm speaking to you, you and I are having a conversation, and I'm doing all the talking. Tulsi, who's actually in control of that communication? You or me?
You are controlling.
Why?
Because you are only talking, I'm not putting my opinions to you.
Yes.
Or
Okay.
you are not letting me to talk.
Yes. Yes. So if communications means exchanging ideas and thoughts and feelings, okay, I'm talking, but Tulsi's not listening to anything I say. Who's in control of the conversation?
Then it's obviously, I think, me. Because I'm not
You.
listening to you.
You. Yes. Yes. And I'm not offended by that. Don't worry. It's okay. So I'm making a lot of noise, but she's in control whether there's any actual communication. Another example, let's say somebody has a very loud radio station, very powerful. It goes all over the world with a big, powerful radio station. But nobody turns the dial to get to that station. How good is that communications? Barca, how good is that communications? Or Jatin, he's shaking his head. Are they communicating any? They're sending out so many messages, but are they communicating?
No, Prabhuji, they are not communicating because no one is dialing their number.
No one's dialing the number. No one's tuning in. And we all know we were all kids, right? We all had experience. Sometimes your mother, your father, they're talking, and you are, sometimes they use this expression, tuned out, right? All you're thinking about is your friend you're going to go see in an hour, and like your mother's just talking. She thinks she's communicating, but she's not communicating because it's not going anywhere. Let's take a question or two now. Jaya Tulsi has her hand up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question. Like you talked about, when we communicate with someone, we should care about their interests, concerns, and needs. Like sometimes we become so insensitive that we don't even realize other person's concerns, needs, and interests. So in that situation, what should we do? Like,
First, I would question the philosophical soundness of your statement. You said sometimes we're not aware. I would say almost all of the time we're not aware of the other person's needs, interests, and concerns, and we're just pushing our needs, interests, and concerns. Okay, so that's why it takes a little bit of it takes some practice. We have to change our way of thinking. And part of changing our way of thinking, it parallels our spiritual perspective, because we know that we come into this material world because who wants to be the center? Why are we in this world?
Because we wanted to enjoy
Yeah, who's actually the enjoyer?
Krishna.
Who's actually the center of everything?
Krishna.
But we're trying to be the center. So we're trying to purify our consciousness and change our consciousness to put Krishna back in the center. So the beginning of that, we have to purify our consciousness, change our consciousness that we're not the center of everything. We can't become Krishna conscious if we're not other people conscious. And if we're becoming Krishna conscious, you have to be other people conscious. It's not like, you never see a picture in the spiritual world. There's Krishna and Anuttama, right? You ever see that? Or Krishna and Jai Tulsi, or Krishna and Premanjana. Sorry, Premanjana. It's not going to be you and Krishna in the spiritual world. Sorry. That's a misconception. It's going to be Krishna and a bunch of devotees, and you'll be there one day too. Okay? But he's going to be the center. So we have to, Jai Tulsi, we have to really train ourselves to think and care about the needs, interests, and concerns of others. And part of it just comes from understanding in a very practical way. Let's say I again use this example. I want to get a permit to have some kind of party. If I don't communicate to the neighbors in terms of their needs, interests, and concerns, or I don't communicate to the government authorities in terms of their needs, interests, and concerns, they're not going to support it. If you go to the let's say you have a project, a lot of students here. You have a project and you're late to get your paper done or your research project for the professor. And you go to explain to the professor, well, dear professor, sir, or ma'am, I just didn't feel like it that day. And I wasn't very motivated. And I had a friend I had a chance to go to a party with some friends or go to some yatra. So I thought, I can always convince you to give me extra time. And besides that, I wanted to watch this movie on television, whatever it is, right? Is the professor going to give you a benefit? No. But if you explain to them, hopefully you're speaking truthfully. We read Krishna says you have to be truthful. If you explain, I know, dear professor, you spent a lot of time trying to help us understand these things. I had a difficulty in my life that was distracting. I think that I understand you really want to make sure the students can understand these things deeply. I'm requesting an extra 2 days so I can do the project that you deserve, that you wanted us to learn, so I can learn the things you wanted us to learn. You think in terms of ways to communicate that's effective to them, and they're more likely to see the win-win situation. You have to be truthful, but you have to train ourselves to think in terms of other people's needs, interests, and concerns. Is that okay, Jai Tulsi? Okay, let's go to Hena.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Hena. And you're muted.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dennis Pranam. Yes, Prabhu, I also share you, I think, and also a question. And I talk about be a mirror. So she's both my friend and family member. So she shares everything with me. I never tell her that she's right, just to make her feel good. I only agree when I truly think she's right. And when I feel she's wrong, I don't say directly. Instead, I give examples while talking so that she realizes it herself.
So your
And,
question,
and her
what's your
reply
question?
is, yeah, Prabhu, her reply is, what's the use of telling the time? Telling to you, you always think I'm wrong anyway. So it's my question. So.
Yeah, I missed part of it, but this is your daughter you're talking about? Female
No,
sister.
my family member and friend also.
Family member and friend. Okay.
Yeah, she's a
So
female.
you have two choices, Hena Mataji. You can continue to do what you're doing, Will it bring a different result, do you think, if you continue to do what you're doing? You're muted now, but we want to discuss a little bit. If you can unmute, hey now. Sorry, you're muted. Okay, so I'll just give the answer. With anybody, just in general, if we're having trouble communicating, like I would say the example you gave, you're trying to be very sensitive, share from examples in a way they can understand, but it's not working. So we have two choices, three. We break off the relationship. Two, we continue to do the same thing we've been doing for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years that it's not working. Or we can find some other way of communicating. So what we're expressing here is that we need to try to understand what's important to the other person and what will get their attention. What I'm hearing you saying is I'm communicating to her in a way that works for me. I like examples. Why doesn't she understand examples? Well, that's not the question. The fact is she doesn't like that. She's not responding to it. So you need to try, and I don't want to spend too much time because it's a little more detailed for everybody else, but the principle is there. I need to understand, like they say in English, what makes them tick, right? What makes them, how do they think? How do they speak? How do they act? What's important? What are their needs, interests, and concerns? So maybe this person that you try to share examples. Maybe you're sharing examples from Shastra and she doesn't believe in Shastra. Maybe you're sharing example. Maybe tell her some Bollywood examples. Maybe she'll believe those. Maybe she doesn't like historical examples, so give her modern examples. Maybe she doesn't like examples at all. Maybe she's just tired of you giving your opinion on what she should do. And you just have to kind of be her friend, which means accept her the way she is. One of the problems of all of one of the tendencies of human nature is we think we're the controller, isn't it? Krishna says he's the controller, he's the friend, he's the enjoyer. So we have to stop trying to be the enjoyer, stop trying to be the friend. We are a friend, but we're not the friend, and stop trying to be the controller. So, we have to kind of open ourselves up to what other people's, what their priorities are. So there's a few more questions. I'm going to take 4 more, and then we may go on to a listening exercise. We'll see if we have time. Jatin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you for
Prabhuji.
your question, Hina. It was a very good one, and hopefully everybody got something practical they can apply in their own lives from that too. Jatin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So I wanted to ask between in communication difference between need, interest, and concern. Basically, considering it as an social sciences thing or something related to it. Initially, a person is oriented for needs, and after that, he goes for wants, which would something relate towards interest. And after we achieve our interest, we are concerned. We are oriented to our concerns. So how
Yeah.
can we distinguish them?
Yeah. When we get into more detail in this, or if we had a longer class, I kind of mentioned that those flow together. Sometimes devotees want to put a list of needs, a list of interests, a list of concerns. So for our purposes, they can all be mixed up. And I think, as you've seen, because you think about these things, some people are very, very focused on their needs. It's almost like survival. And maybe we've all been in that situation at certain times of our life. Other times we can be more inclusive of other people's interests so it's almost like you're explaining, it's like more and more subtle, more and more mode of goodness, really. So the question really is, where's the other person or group coming from? If they're focused on I need this, well, then we need whatever's important to them. That's the priority. Whatever they feel is important. And however we categorize it, a need, an interest, a concern is not so important, but we want to understand what's important to them so we can communicate to them on that basis. So like one neighbor may say, I have to have it quiet after 10 o'clock. That's a need. And they're going to be upset and they're going to call the police if you don't stop your noise at 9:30. Another neighbor, I kind of like quiet in the neighborhood, but I'm not going to get upset about it. You see, it's the same thing, but it's not as important for them. So our job is to try to figure out what is important for that other audience. Is that okay?
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you. Let's go to Rocky.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. My question is, when our close relation, in our close relation, if we see other needs, concern, and interest, only their concern and needs, what about us? If it make us uncomfortable or make us upset, so how to deal with it?
Yeah. Well, reminds me of the story in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, where Narada Muni, you may know the story, he had one disciple who was a snake. And it was a very big and powerful and vicious snake. But when that snake became a Vaishnava, it stopped biting people and scaring people and everything else that snakes do. So Narada Muni left and he came back at some time to see his disciple, the snake. And the snake looked very bad. He was all black and blue and was very thin and looked very unhealthy. And Narada Muni asked him, "What happened to you?" And he said, "Well, after I became your disciple, I stopped bothering people and biting people as you instructed me so." And then the neighborhood boys in the village, they realized that I'm not biting anybody anymore. So they come and they throw stones and they harass me and I'm not getting anything to eat. And it's very difficult. And Narada Muni told them, "Well, I told you not to bite, but I never told you couldn't raise your hoods." Yes? So the same way, we're saying you need to know the needs, interests, and concerns of others. It doesn't mean you don't think at all about what your needs, interests, and concerns are, but you're looking for win-win. Okay? So in other words, when I have Premanjana and I, let's say he's in charge of East India and I want to do some program there, or he comes to America and wants to. So I need to know, what are my goals? My goals are to have a nice festival, distribute a lot of prasadam, make sure the devotees are happy. Those are my goals. His goals are to make sure people are safe, to make sure we don't get in trouble with the neighbors because it's too loud. So I'm looking for a win-win. So you need to be aware of your own needs, interests, and concerns, and even analyze those in terms of what's the most important to you. Because sometimes we have conflicts with people over something that's not very important. So we need to be clear what's important for us. We need to be able to express that, but also be very careful that we're not just thinking in terms of what I need. A lot of times my needs are subconscious. I just need this. I just want this. Like sometimes parents will tell their children, just do it. Don't ask me why. Well, that, maybe that works with 3-year-olds. It doesn't work with 12-year-olds, right? Because one of the things they need is to understand why, isn't it? So yes, understand, be aware of your needs, be able to express them, but make sure you understand what are the needs, interests, and concerns of others. And time, place, and circumstance. You're with your grandfather, okay. We all know, okay, with your grandmother. When you're there, she's got certain ways she likes, many grandmothers. She has certain ways she likes things done. Okay, you're a little more flexible. In a relationship with your best friend, maybe you communicate a little bit more. Relationship with, someone who's going to, with the professor that's going to give you a grant to do some study or not, you're very, you're going to approach it a little bit differently. Is that okay, Rocky?
Yes, Prabhuji, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, good. We're going to take 3 more. We're going to take Leela Priya, Itika, if I pronounced it right, Bina, and then I think we're going to move on and try to do a listening exercise. Yes, Leela Priya.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble obeisances. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking my question. And Prabhu, my concern or my question is that, like, if I talk about my sister, my sibling, she's a doctor, and many times she come up with difficulties and troubles she's facing in her life. But I try to pacify her, but many times it happens that her situation, her circumstances are very much different because I'm a housewife. So whatever I have gone through or I have learned, I will only tell her about that thing. But suppose how to be more convincing to her? How can I help her in if she is taking night calls, she get exhausted. If there are so many responsibilities on her, so she gets, very much tired. And if I tell her anything, she said that you are not living my life. You have different responsibilities. You have different things. So how can I be more convincing to her? Like, I'm sorry, but as you said, that we can give examples from her colleagues, also from her friend circle, from my family. But many times, if I tell her any example, so she says that you only give me example, but you have no idea that what I'm going through. So I just want to how to be more convincing.
I'm going to put your question on hold because we're going to come back and you're convincing me we need to talk about good listening skills. So let me come back in just a minute and I'm going to answer that. Because I think more than anything else, what you're talking about is how do I listen to her in such a way that maybe I can help her answer some problems she faces and maybe we can not have the relationship break down because I have a different perspective than she does. So good listening skills is the answer. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Okay. It's a good question. Okay. Now okay, good. Hitika and then Bina, and then we're going to go on to the next exercise.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So
Krishna.
as you were mentioned that we have to take care about others' needs and interests. So talking about my best friend, I always take care of her needs and interests. Like it's been a lot of time. Like it's been long time. I have been taking care of her interests, her needs. But what about mine? She don't care about mine interest, and it's like it's so hard just always giving and not expecting anything in return. Like even though I confess her kid this is I want, but still she don't pay attention about my needs and don't fulfill them. So for me it's like it's so hard. Just I'm just being the giver, and she's not like making efforts for my needs and interests. So what should we do in that situation? Even I don't want to lose her now, as she's my best friend. I'm so emotionally and attached to her.
Mm. Well, one thing is, I can only give a little perspective from my experience in communications. These are almost like family therapy questions. So it maybe my answers are not as skilled as they could be. I would just think, like you said at the end, you said at the end, I want to keep her as my friend, right? So if that's your priority, then maybe her needs, interests, and concerns is to talk about herself all the time. And your need, interest, concern is to keep her as a friend. So sometimes if we have friends, if we love somebody, you have to tolerate a little bit the things that are inconvenient. So, but also you can practice sharing your feelings and your thoughts sometimes. If they're such good friends, you can say, you can express yourself honestly. But I think you're very sensitive to realizing that you seem to feel if you say that too much, you might lose that friendship. So unless she's, abusing you, when she's psychologically hurting you or emotionally hurting you all the time, or even physically hurting you, that would be at that point you got to say, okay, this is a bad relationship. I have to end the relationship. But I think you're saying it's a little more subtle than that. You still are getting a lot of good benefits from the relationship, but you can maybe try to introduce to her sometime. Hey, again, here's where the family therapist would know more than I would. But it seems appropriate. You might be able to introduce in the conversation sometimes what your needs are. Like if we're talking about other audiences, we definitely talk about how you need to be able to express what's important for you. But most importantly, these people can help you or hurt you. You need to understand what's important for them. So maybe counsel with some of the other devotees there can give you some thoughts who are really good at relationship building. But what you said at the very end, this relationship is important to me. So sometimes you have to kind of put up with people's little idiosyncrasies. I've been married for 40 years. You can talk to my wife about what it means to tolerate people. She's very good at that. So we all have to tolerate sometimes other people's shortcomings. Okay, Hitika, is that a little helpful?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, Ben, stay tuned for the listening exercise. I think that'll be helpful. Okay, last one, Bina.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My question is regarding my class fellows or batchmates. For suppose they behave very sweetly and become friendly just for their own benefit. And in the starting, like I didn't realize, and after like fulfilling their own benefit, like they praise, then I realized that there is the purpose behind their friendship or uh, for their personal benefit, and like this thing hurt us, so what to do in that situation?
Well, first of all, remember that everybody in this world is needy. That's like a philosophical question. Every single person we meet in this world needs something because they all need Krishna. And Rabindranath Suprabhu, who's a senior Prabhupada disciple, he would many times say that we all come into this world with a God-sized hole in our heart. We're all looking for Krishna. And we go from this relationship to that relationship, whether it's our spouse, a friend, a family member, hoping a job, some social cause, hoping that if we give ourselves to that, it will satisfy our needs. Well, there's some background noise. Maybe everybody can make sure post and silence that one in the background. So that's like the philosophical sense. So any relationship we get into with anybody, they have their needs. But I think the point we need to be aware, again, this gets into more kind of therapeutic stuff. If a relationship is too one-sided, then it's not healthy for us. You know, I mean, I've had friends, even like I'm married now, but when I was a brahmachari, I think back, I had some friends I lived in an ashram for 10 years. We used to go traveling Sankirtan. You go out and distribute books. We would go in a van, two men. And there was one devotee, a lot of appreciation for him. I would tell the temple presidents, I'll go anywhere, I'll do anything, I'll be with anybody but him. Don't put me with him. And I would kind of say facetiously, because you'll send two out, only one of us will come back alive. There was something about our personalities that clashed. So, we just have to understand some people we don't get along with well in this world in terms of just our ordinary relationships. We all have favorite aunts, favorite uncles. We may have some aunts and uncles we don't like so much. We're respectful. We're grateful. Somebody gives a class, we love the class. Somebody else gives a class, we don't like them so much personally. Who cares? That's the modes of nature. We still hear from them for Krishna consciousness. But if it crosses the line where it really is causing some depression for us or some serious discouragement, then we have to back away from that relationship a little bit. And sometimes just by understanding more what their needs are, by focusing on what they need, it rebuilds the relationship, because sometimes they're hurt. We don't know. I'm taking a training session on, they call trauma-informed leadership, which is understanding that most people carry some degree of trauma from their past. Some death in the family or abuse in the family or these days the war or so many problems, and it really affects us. So so sometimes people they're very sensitive, or they're very angry, or sometimes they can be very selfish. Part of it is understanding, well, what's in their background. And I don't want to diminish my own sense of worth or my enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness. If that's at risk by associating with them, I have to minimize that relationship. But otherwise, I can try to help them as best I can, but also understanding, what are their needs, interests, and concerns, and what are mine. Not that I minimize mine. Okay? Is that all right? So I want to go on to these next slides because I want to talk a little bit about listening skills. A couple questions came up directly connected to those. Okay, play from current slide. Okay. Couple things about listening. Okay. We've got about a half an hour left. Want to highlight. We talked about how oftentimes, I'm speaking, I'm communicating, I think, but it's not being received so well. How do we make sure we're good people, we're good listeners, right? If you have a friend, Hitika's got her friend, maybe she's thinking her friend always thinks about herself. It could be Hitika, it's possible. She's trying to talk about herself, but she feels you never really listen to her. I've had friends like this. They don't feel I'm listening, so they keep saying it again and again and again and again and again. Sometimes we find that, we want to tell our husband, our wife, our kids, our godbrother, you never listen to me. So we just try to tell them again and again and again. So we're going to talk about what do we need to do, make sure we're good listeners. Okay. So the first thing is just talks about some body language. Let's say that Bina comes to me. I just mentioned you because you're on my screen. Bina comes to me and she says she needs to talk to me something very important. And I was like, okay, Bina, go ahead. Tell me what it is. And I'm looking at my watch and I'm looking around the room and, I'm looking at a book and she's trying to get my attention. What message am I expressing through what they call body language? Am I showing that I'm interested or that I care? Not at
Probably
all.
showing no interest, like
No interest. And you'll get discouraged and maybe you'll try to, raise the volume. My father had a joke. He said there was one minister or imam or priest, whatever, who was giving a lecture at the temple, the church, and the mosque. So on his notes, he had written down on the side, this is a weak point. Speak loudly. So sometimes we think nobody's hearing us, so I have to speak more loudly. This is a weak point in my presentation. I'll raise my voice because it's not good, and that will make up the difference. That's not good, okay? So be aware of your sitting posture. When you're having an important conversation with a friend or your boss or employee or family member, sit up straight, okay? Open body language means generally like don't, you cross your arms, it sends a message, or cross your legs, or it sends a message, I don't care, or I don't want to listen, or I have something more important to do. So be aware of that. And lean forward a little bit, show you're interested. Okay. And according to the culture, the last one, eye contact. Some cultures, I was in China a few years ago, juniors never look at seniors in the eye. So that's different. But depending on the culture, make some eye contact so people know you're actually listening to them. Okay. Because sometimes we just send a message that you're not important to me. Okay. And sometimes we do little skits to demonstrate that, but I think you have that point. Okay. So you see this SOUL, they call it acronym, right? S stands for sitting posture. Help us remember it. O, open body language. L, listening attentively or leaning forward. And E, eye contact. So everybody out there in Zoom land, let me see your soul. Let me see you do all these. Just physically sit up straight in your chair. Okay, lean forward a little bit. Okay, good. Listen attentively. I can see Hitika. She's on my screen. She's sitting up attentively. Okay. It actually sends a very powerful message. Chiwanti is with her son there, nice looking boy. So even with children, sometimes we have to make sure that they know we're giving them our attention. Okay. Bina, let me see you. Show me some soul here. You're holding the microphone close. Sit up where I can see you. Bina, sit up straight. Okay. And lean forward. Okay, good. And like Hitika's got her arm like that. That could be showing me you really like what I'm saying, or it could be saying I'm falling asleep. I'm so interested in what you're saying. So you have to be aware of these things. They send very powerful messages. There's a chart that I didn't put on these slides, but they say, and if you have a pen, you can write this down. Something like 58% of what we communicate is body language. 58%. 30 something percent is how you say it. What's the tone of your voice, the speed of what you're saying. Only 7% is the content. So if you say to your children, I love you very much, as you're running out the door looking at your watch, never. You may think, oh, I tell my kids all day long I love them. But no, you were looking at your watch. You were running out the door. You were running down the stairs. You were yelling at your husband. His lunch is on the counter. It doesn't carry any weight. Okay, so be aware of the physical body language of what you're saying. Okay. Second thing, okay, this is what we're going to practice. A little bit of time. We're not going to learn this skill in its depth, but I just want you to experience it a little bit. Reflective listening. Some of you have done this before. We're going to have somebody, I hope, whoever's out there that knows how to put everybody in groups. In a minute, we're going to put everybody in a group of 2. Okay, and you may be with somebody you don't know very well, but we're just going to practice it. Okay, we want you to, each of you, what you're going to do is you're going to practice this reflective listening. Reflective listening means I listen attentively, and I listen and listen and listen, and then I respond not with what I want to talk about, but I respond what I've heard you talk about. Okay, it's a certain type of skill that helps enhance relationships, make sure we understand what's important to the other person. Usually what happens is this one's talking, talking, talking. As soon as they take a breath, this one jumps in, talks, 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 talks. And this one's waiting, waiting, waiting. As soon as they talk, as soon as they take a break, this one jumps in, right? I, me, 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 me. Reflective listening means here's what I'm feeling. Okay, I'm very upset that you did this the other day. Reflective listening means I'm going to repeat back what I've heard, the feeling on the third line here, the feeling in the content. If I understand you correctly, you're upset with me because I broke your favorite book the other day. Okay. By reflecting back, there's some benefits that come. And this is what I wanted to respond earlier. I didn't write her name down. The devotee that very kindly mentioned her relationship with her sister. I'm looking through the pictures here, 5 at a time. Is she still here? I can't see everybody. Okay, I'm not sure if she's still here. Anyway, so listening. So by practicing this skill, it does 4 things. And please write this down. We're going to do something that in the communications course we practice for days. We're going to do it in 10 minutes. By listening properly, okay, by using this tool of reflective listening, it clarifies misunderstanding. So let's say Rocky, I can see you on my screen. So Rocky says something to me that she's happy about or she's upset about. I reflect back to her, Rocky, if I understand, you're very worried about a storm may come up when they've got your sister's wedding planned. Okay? So she may say, no, 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 I'm not worried about the storm may come up. I'm worried about the fact that sometimes there's flooding in that area and the cows are at risk. Okay? I'm just making this all up. Okay, I had a complete misunderstanding. I might have gone out and tried to rented a tent for her sister's wedding or bought some rain boots in case it rains because I want to go to her sister's. I do all kinds of things, but I have the problem wrong. So by reflecting back and make sure we understand what's the issue, what's the concern, what are their feelings. That's the first thing, okay? Second thing is by reflecting back to people, sometimes people just need to be heard. That's what I wanted to share to our sister here, our Vaishnavi, who asked the question about her sister. It may be that that doctor's sister doesn't want solutions. She's a doctor. She knows she's not supposed to be working that hard. She knows she's under stress. She knows better than any of us about what it's doing to her heart and her stomach and her relation. She knows all that. She doesn't need me or her sister, who's a housewife or a devotee, to tell me what. I don't need that. But I do need somebody just to listen to me. And we all, let's say, for example, Bean and I, we've just met on Zoom today, but let's say Bean and I are very good friends. And I say, Beana, I'm kind of depressed today. And she says, why? I say, well, my mom died. My mother died 15 years ago today. And I feel a little sad. Okay. And Beana tells me, well, Anuttama, she's not that body. She's not really your mother. Krishna's actually your mother and your father. And these days, she was cremated. She's just ashes someplace at the bottom of a. Does that help me? Not at all. I know all those things. I don't need a solution. I don't need you to tell me that so reflective listening means Bina might say something like, Anuttama, from what you're telling me, she was a really wonderful person. You had a good relationship with her. Now, when she says that, what happens? It gives me the space to say more. Okay? She's just like allowed me the space to share my feelings. She didn't shut me down. If she says, well, she's not that body, you're not her son. Okay, that's the end of the conversation. Where am I supposed to go with that? Even if I try again, well, but being as she was a nice lady. Yeah, but she's still ashes, Anuttama. There's nothing left of her. Like, okay, go away. I'm feeling bad because I'm missing my mother. So you can reflect and say, if I understand, it sounds like you're feeling bad because she passed away. You probably had a really good from what I hear, you had a good relationship with her. And then I say, yeah, she used to come to the temple and she wasn't a vegetarian, but she became a vegetarian, or she did this. And by talking about it, I feel better. And Bina is now my very good friend because she took the time to listen to what was important to me. Okay? So sometimes remember this, people just need to be heard. So Hitika, it could be that your friend just needs to be heard. I don't know why. You don't know why. Maybe she doesn't get the attention she needs at home. Maybe she's an insecure person. Maybe she's just in a phase of life. She's a little insensitive, but she just needs to be heard. Okay? That's the second benefit. One, it clarifies understanding, and two, that it allows us just to be heard. Here's a third one that's kind of mystical. Sometimes, let's say this time, Bina's talking to me about a problem she's having. She tells me, I'm just making this all up, okay? So she says, I'm having a hard time with my sister because, she's too critical. And I say, well, Bina, from what I understand, your feelings a little hurt because your sister's harsh and critical. She immediately feels like she can say more. She'll say, well, yeah, last time I went over to the family for dinner, and everybody brought something and I made some sabji and she just criticized it in front of everybody. Oh, so if I understand you correctly, she criticizes you publicly and especially your cooking, and that kind of hurts your feelings. It's like reflective listening. It's like a mirror back to her. See, she just heard what she said. I didn't add to it. I didn't comment on it. I didn't criticize it. I just reflected back what I heard. Okay. And then she says, well, actually, it didn't bother me so much that she when I think about it, see, because now I've told her what she just said to me. She's thinking about it. Well, actually, I didn't mind that she criticized the subject so much, but she always has to make everybody think she's the center of attention. Okay, that's completely different what she told me the first time around. See, because we're going deeper because of my reflective listening. And then she may say, I'm just example. She may say, maybe if I showed her a little more attention, because we're sisters, sometimes sisters can be a little competitive. Maybe if I showed her a little more attention and really expressed to her how much I love her, maybe the relationship would get better. Now, I didn't say a thing, right? You follow what I'm doing here? I'm just reflecting, but that's helping her go deeper and deeper and deeper. So the third thing is sometimes people come to their own solution without you having to say anything. Somebody comes to you with a problem. Our tendency is Premanjana comes to me with a problem, and I tend to think, oh, I'm Krishna's representative. I can tell you the solution. I'm Trikalagya. No, I'm a limited human being. What do I know? I may not even understand your problem. But by reflective listening, we can come a little deeper to the problem, assure there's proper understanding. Maybe you just need to be heard. Maybe you find your own solution. And the fourth benefit of this skill, reflective listening, it helps build trust. Really, really important. So if by chance maybe you do need to offer some solution or some advice to your friends or your family members, if you really listen to them, it builds trust. And they'll be much more able to accept whatever you want to share with them. Not that you always should. Sometimes you just need to listen. But if you do have some suggestions, they're going to trust you a lot more because you've heard what they said. Okay. So I like to practice this now. Let me see what else we have here. I think that's, yeah, okay, let me one more slide. Because again, we're going to break into twos, I think. And if we're not, we're going to practice this at home. What we're doing when we do this reflective listening, you're reflecting back two things again, okay? The feeling that you've heard in the content. So I may say, Hitika, what I understood is that you really, really have a deep affection for your friend, and when she sometimes comes across a little self-absorbed, it bothers you, but you don't want to disturb the relationship. Then Hitika may go like, now she's not in her head. Yeah, that's it. Or she may say, no, 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 that's not it at all. And then she'll restate. So I get some clarity and she gets clarity, okay? So when you reflect people, you don't interrupt, okay? You don't criticize. Oh, Bina, that sounds terrible. That's offensive. Why do you do? I just listen, okay? I don't advise. Oh, Hitika, I had a friend just like that when I was in school, and I told him blah, blah, blah. No, no, it's not about advice, okay? It's not about evaluating, oh, that's offensive. Oh, you sound puffed up. It's not doing that. And it's not talking about myself. We have this tendency to talk about ourselves. Oh, I had the same thing happen to me. That's not reflective listening. Sometimes we say it's like reflective listening is like japa meditation. When you chant japa, your mind goes all over the world. But reflective listening, you don't listen. Your mind's, oh, that happened to me. Oh, you're hearing the other person. Your mind's telling you, oh, what you should do. You should do this. You should. No, 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 none of that. You're just going to reflect. If I understand, and this is a good little trick. Practice, start out by saying, if I understand you correctly. And then two things, what the feeling and what the content of what you heard is. So we're going to practice this just for a few minutes, just to kind of give you a little bit of a taste. And then I would suggest you do this, try it at home and with your friends and with your families. You'll be amazed how it will help your relationship. So what we're going to do, and Premanjana, jump in here and tell me if there's somebody who can actually have this happen technically. I think they wrote that it would be, I think Shobha, were you writing to me? Somebody was writing to me, said it'd be possible. So in a minute, we're going to split you into little groups of twos, okay? And one of you, don't take too long deciding which one. You're both, somebody goes first, somebody goes second. You both can do the same thing. I want you to now be thinking of a problem that you're faced and you feel you could talk about to this person whose chances are a total stranger. Something that's important to you, but that you feel you can talk about. You don't have to talk about your deepest trauma when you were 6 years old. Just, whatever. I'm not sure how to take care of my mother because she's getting older. I'm having difficulty at the office because the coworker is terrible. It's hard for me to balance chanting my job by all the housework. Some problem that you face, okay? And then you're going to have 1 minute to do that. So your partner can be kind of no more than 1 minute, 30 seconds to a minute. Your partner is going to reflect back what they've heard. And I want you all to try this. If I understand you correctly, and you say the feeling and the content. Bimo, you just showed up on my screen, so we're going to give a demonstration of this in a second. And then no interrupting, no judging. If the word should comes out of your mouth, you're on the wrong planet. Don't say that. Okay? All right. Are we able to put everything in twos and try it in a minute? Don't do it yet, but just asking. Okay. So Bima, can we give a little example?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Like if we can do a demo and then break up, and you let me know how many minutes you want them to be in their rooms.
Okay. Are you the supreme techie controller here?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Right now I'm the Ishvara.
So let's you and I do an example. I'll speak and you actually you speak and then you want to speak, tell me some problem. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then I'll reflect. Okay, no, I'm sitting salt. My feet are on the floor. My arms are uncrossed. Okay, I'm leaning forward. I'm looking, eye contact. I'm going to listen to him very attentively. Okay, although he just disappeared from my screen. Bima, where'd you go?
Here.
You're
Right in
hitting-
front of you.
Okay, there you are.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have this very tough situation when I am trying to like change my service authority and my service authority. I'm actually when I feel that I cannot trust my service authority. That there's kind of such kind of an impression, such kind of he has got such kind of air around him. So I feel that I cannot submit to that kind of people, and I'm very worried about my service. And I'm also thinking that if I like if this goes on, then like possibly I'll have to give up everything, and that makes me very, very insecure.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, because you're having doubts about whether your service authority is overseeing you properly, it's causing you to worry and to feel insecure and to maybe even thinking about how can I continue on where I am in my temple and my community because they don't have my best interest in mind.
Exactly. Thank you, Bruce.
Let's go back and forth a little more. One more time. Keep going.
Okay. Okay.
Same scenario. Just continue. After I reflected, so go what would come natural.
Okay, same scenario. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. You have understood my feelings. Now I am making more disclosure. That I feel that the service authority, he has got his own personal interests, and that interest possibly collides with our mission. And I feel that I have given my life to this mission, so I would want to see the things through which we have started. But this specific authority, I think our needs, interest, and concern are not congruent. So here, therefore, I cannot place my trust in him. And yeah, given the chance, I would either replace my authority, or maybe I might be forced to, uh, like change my service in order to have my peace of mind.
So if I understand you correctly, then it's not only just a loss of trust, but you're really questioning what are his motives in your own mind now. And your loss of faith in him has become so great that you're thinking either I need to change my service or I need to get another authority. And I sense you're feeling a little anxious and doubtful about what's the next step for you.
Exactly, Prabhuji. You got the right emotion, anxiety.
So my computer is ringing my WhatsApp. Can you hear that noise? Hopefully not. Can you hear that,
No.
Rel? Okay, good.
No.
Okay. Okay, so that's an example. So we're going to put you all in a room with another devotee. And again, you may know them, you may not know them, but let's give you each about 30, 15, 20 seconds without interruption before we switch the group. Think about a problem and write it down a little bit just so you don't forget. You don't have to write down the details. Just think of a problem that you feel comfortable you could talk about, just like Bhima Prabhu gave an example of a problem you might be facing. So everybody we'll silently let you think of a problem, and then we're going to put you in groups.
How many minutes, Prabhuji? 5 minutes? 2 minutes? 3
No,
minutes?
not even that. I think, well, yeah, let's go 5 minutes. They can go back and forth a couple times.
All right, fair
I
enough.
don't know. Okay.
Sending will. All the devotees are requested to join in. Okay, you are
What's-
getting you're getting into the groups. Just
Now,
join
hold
in.
on, wait just a sec. Don't push the button yet.
Mhm.
So everybody had a chance. You have a problem you think you can talk about? Everybody ready for that? And is it clear? Anybody have any questions? Is it clear? Okay, so you're
Prabhuji,
gonna finish.
I want to ask a question. May I?
Yeah,
Jet.
just about this process, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Do we have like we are two people in one group, so one has to speak, one has to listen, or both have to tell, like two rounds have to be done?
Very good question. One should speak, the other does reflective listening, reflecting two things, right? The feeling and the content. Okay. We'll let it go back and forth a couple times, and then you'll switch roles. So we'll go maybe like 2-3 minutes one side, 2-3 minutes the other side. Bimo Puru, we have ability to send a message to everybody when it's halfway and they should switch. You know how to do that?
I don't know how to do that, but
Yes,
like
yes,
I can.
yes, we can do that.
Premanjan,
Yeah,
you
we
can do
Do
can.
that?
that?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Because we want to keep them in the same groups. We don't want to bring everybody back and divide them again, because then some people that listened
Yes,
already, they're,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
okay, fine. Premanjan Prabhu might he
So two things,
I can.
everybody, before you start, everybody sit up straight. Let me see Soul. Hari Priya, you're leaning. Sit up straight. There you go. Okay, good. Aruna, I know you're very focused, but you might be falling asleep too. So sit up straight. Okay, very good. Feet on the floor. You're going to lean a little forward with your partner. Okay, and you're going to talk about your problem. The person is listening. If the word should comes out of your mouth, that means you did it wrong, and go back. And everybody should start with this. If I understand you correctly, because that puts you in the right mood. If I understand you correctly, you want to tell them you're feeling this, and this is the content. You know, you're this happened to you and you're upset, or that happened and you're worried, like that. Okay. And after 2 minutes, we'll send a little message, 2, 3 minutes, and you'll switch sides, and then we'll all come back in a group. We'll talk about it, and we'll end our session today. Okay. Okay, Bimo, go ahead. And I know Premunjan and myself might end up in a group too. So if we are Premunjan, we'll just do whatever we need to.
Let's see, Prabhuji. Okay,
Okay,
I'm
we'll see
opening up.
everybody in
Please join
five,
in.
six
Please join
minutes.
in.
Hare Krishna.
Join in.
Yeah, Bimo, let's put me in a room. So I'll just go there, huh?
Yes, Prabhuji. God. Syria. I'm supposed to say enumerating हाँ, क्या हुआ, ये सारे ग्रुप्स में नहीं गए? इतने सारे बैठे हैं जो, हाँ, सब सो रहे थे ना, पकड़े गए सारे।
ना ना
प्रभु
ना,
जो
मैं ग्रुप में गया था, रिटर्न हो गया, पता नहीं कैसे।
फिर रिटर्न हो गया।
तो देखूं ताकि मैं, वो इंटरनेट, हाँ इंटरनेट वीक होगा तो यही प्रॉब्लम करेगा।
यस प्रभु, इंटरनेट वीक।
लेट मी सी मैं क्या करता हूँ। आप लोग सब मुझे ना किसी न किसी ग्रुप में देख रहे हो, बट वो नॉट ज्वाइन दिखा रहा है, पता नहीं क्या प्रॉब्लम कर रहा है।
मैंने
अ,
ज्वाइन किया था, फिर से रिटर्न हो गया।
हाँ तो जैसे जगदीश हितिका के बैच में था। जगदीश जो अभी आएगा ना, आपके पास जो
हम्म।
अभी आएगा, उसको
हम्म।
आप ज्वाइन मत करना, ताकि मैं आपको
ओके।
ले लो। अब हितिका भी बाहर आ गई। पता है बाहर क्यों आ गए? भेज रहा हूँ आपके ग्रुप में वापस। तेरे का दोनों को भेज रहा हूँ मैं 19 में। रुको एक सेकेंड, आप ज्वाइन मत करना अभी। जगदीश ज्वाइन मत करना, अभी ज्वाइन मत करना, मत करना। अब आएगा, अब ज्वाइन करो, ज्वाइन कर जाओ, ज्वाइन कर जाओ। हितिका, अभी मैं भेजूंगा, ज्वाइन मत करना, मत करना। अब जैसे बोलूंगा तब ज्वाइन करना, ज्वाइन कर जाओ। कौन किस किस ग्रुप में से निकल के आया है? एक मनीषा नैना तो थी नहीं किसी ग्रुप में, है ना? तो ये तो अभी बंद हो जाएगा 4-5 मिनट में, फायदा क्या है?
प्रभु जी मेरे
हम्म?
ग्रुप में नहीं आया था।
में भी कोई भी नहीं था।
अरे भेजा आपके ग्रुप में उषा को,
कोई नहीं आया।
मेरे ग्रुप में
मैंने
रोहित
भेजा, वो
आकर
नहीं
चला
गई, मैं क्या
गया।
करूं?
मेरे ग्रुप में रोहित आए थे, वो भाग गए।
तो वही ना, वो नेट वीक है, नेट वीक होने से ये और प्रॉब्लम होती है। गॉड, अनुत्तम और प्रेमांजन एक ही ग्रुप में है। गॉड,
प्रभु
ओह।
जी।
शुड हैव बीन इन अ डिफरेंट ग्रुप, ताकि वो फायदा उठा सकते हैं। अब तो बंद हो जाएगा सारा, अभी 15 सेकंड में सब बंद हो जाएगा।
प्रभु जी मेरी क्लास, मुझे सवाल पूछना है।
ऐसे डिफरेंट थे, वो एक एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं, आप क्या सवाल पूछना। वही, प्रभु को आने दो, प्रभु को आने दो, मैं पूछता हूँ दोबारा कि अगर एक और बार जा सकता तो। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण
प्रभु,
प्रभु जी।
अनुत्तम प्रभु,
Yes.
I I suggest like they go back another time.
Oh, it didn't work?
The reason being, many of them have got very weak internets. So they left the groups and then they were struggling to join back.
Oh, okay. Raise your hand if you were in a team and you actually had a chance to practice listening, so we have a sense. Raise your hand if it worked. Okay, Barka, Dimirta, Bina, Raki, Rashi, Usha, Jatin.
I hope all of you know what are you raising your hands for.
Yeah, do you all know
Is
what you're
ask,
raising for?
yeah, is asking whether you got the chance to practice. Is not asking whether you like need another chance to practice.
No, it looks like,
Yes, Prabhu ji. It works.
because I'm a little concerned about everybody's time. It's late there right now, right? It's like 10 o'clock or something.
9:30.
So maybe we can do okay, put your hands down. Who didn't end up in a group and did not get a chance to do any listening skills practice? Raise your hands again if you did not end up in a group. Okay. Okay, it looks like less. Okay, what to do? I mean, when we teach it in a live face-to-face classroom, we practice multiple times. Okay, so one more question. Who can stay another 10 minutes if we do another round of practice? Raise your hands. Who can stay? Okay, and there's a lot of people who can't stay, it seems.
Half of them have already ran away.
Okay, let's do this. Let me do a little summary, and then just 2 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead. Those that are still here that would like to, we'll do another session of practice. Okay. So let me just summarize that. We know that Srila Prabhupada was really the greatest communicator in ISKCON. In addition to the fact he traveled around the world and published so many books and gave so many lectures and letters, he also was very, very careful, very conscientious, very expert at the way he communicated with different people. There's one quote from Srila Prabhupada. He wrote in one letter to one devotee. He said, because we're in the material world, we need, I can't remember the exact quote, I don't have it memorized, but he said, we need support. He said, so trying to make other people sympathizers, trying to make them sympathetic to our position, our points. So a big way that we do that is by listening skills, by understanding other people's needs, interests, and concerns. So what I can do, I'll send these slides later to Bimala or Soba or whoever would like, and you can share them with everybody as a refresher. And I would just hope it's an introduction. These are things that you can practice throughout your life. They help as officials for ISKCON. They help as leaders of devotee communities. They help us as parents, as friends, as students. They're things that we really can put into practice at whatever your focus is, whatever the priorities are for you in your life. But I would encourage you all, keep in mind those 5 principles, aligned with Prabhupada, time, place, and circumstance, being proactive, looking for a win-win scenario, and always exemplary character and behavior. And please remember this 2 terms, key audiences. Who are the people that really, or groups that really, really matter to us spiritually or professionally? Just like in your office, maybe there's 3 people that, don't like you. They're always making trouble, but the boss is the key audience. Because if he or she gives you a fair share, okay, then that's what counts. Okay, 3 people that criticize you all the time, don't lose sleep over them, but focus some energy on the relationship with the boss or the neighbor that makes trouble or the neighbor that can open the doors to having things happen like that. And in order to build that relationship, this mantra is so important. What are their needs, interests, and concerns? And be a little self-critical, because you'll see, I tend to always think of what's important to me, but what's important to me is not always important to others. And if I understand what's important to them, if I at least try to make sure there's a mutually beneficial relationship, win-win, it's mutually beneficial. It helps me and it helps them, then the relationship will be very strong and we'll make some progress in life as a family, as a community of devotees, as professionals in the office, whatever that might be. So we'll send you these slides. Please review them again sometime and try to practice this reflective listening, not just here, but just something that you can take home with you. Jaiwanti, your hand is up. Did you have a question or is that left from the poll before? No? Okay. So let's do this. Let's say, because we don't want to put people in groups by themselves. So if you can stay for another 10 minutes maximum, we'll put whoever's here in the room and we can practice the listening skills. If you need to go, please accept my humble obeisances and drop off now, because then we won't put you in a group where supposedly you're there with somebody else, but they're by themselves. Does that make sense? Bimal, does that make sense? Okay. So we'll see. I think we're still going to have a pretty good sized group here.
20 people. Can have 20
Okay.
groups.
Everybody's ready for more. Very good. So you're clear what the goal is? You're in your group. One of you is going to be the speaker. One of you will be the listener. The listener is going to practice soul, first of all, right? Sitting up straight. O for open body language. L, leaning forward. Thank you, Poonam, for leaning forward and sitting up straight. And E, eye contact. Okay? Soul, physical aspect. And then reflective listening. No interrupting. Don't talk about yourself. Oh, that happened to me. Oh, yeah, I think you should. The tendency is, Bimala tells me he's having trouble. Bima, maybe he says, I'm really having trouble with my japa. Oh, yeah, I had the same problem a year ago. You need to go to sleep earlier. Don't eat so many sweets. You need to stop talking Punjab. You know, it's like immediately should. That's not what he needs me to hear him through. I may have the whole problem wrong. So avoid that tendency to jump in with a solution. I know each of you thinks you are the supreme personality of Godhead and you can solve everything, but I'm sorry to correct you. You're wrong. You're not the supreme personality of Godhead. You're a friend, and you can listen to your friend's problem, and you can reflectively listening the feeling and the content, which again is going to help do four things. You'll see this. It's going to clarify us understandings, misunderstandings. It's going to, sometimes they're going to come to their own solution. Sometimes they just need to be heard. And every time it's going to help build trust. So we're going to practice this now. Okay. You're going to reflect. If I understand you correctly, you're going to say the feeling and the content. They're going to listen and they're going to maybe go a little bit deeper. And then you're just going to continue reflecting just to practice this. There's other things that go along with it. We're not going to talk about that now. But this one skill is really needed. At the halfway point, Beamla's going to put up a note that says like 6 minutes. And when you reach the 3-minute point, then you change. Okay. In fact, Beema,
Yes,
let's
Prabhuji.
give them 8 minutes. They can go
All
back
right.
and forth a couple times.
All right, fair enough. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Okay,
Everybody
go,
ready? You're
go
going to
on
end up.
in.
Okay, so you have to click join on your screen.
Join in. Join in. Fast. Tanya has to go. Let's go to this. Hey, Priya Mataji, let's go. God, what's going on? किसने ज्वाइन नहीं किया? लक्ष्मी माँ जी, आपको लिंक नहीं आया? Press join in.
Prabhuji, I joined, but it couldn't show.
Wait. Premanjan hasn't joined. Let's see who hasn't joined yet. प्रेमांजन प्रभु आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हो, अच्छा रहेगा, एक हो ना डिवोटी को समझ आ जाएगी चीजें. Okay, let me see who else. Why Komal is like Komal bailed out? Wait. Later. Number 5, Premanjan needs a company. Okay. Let me see. Komal Kundani sending to Varsha. It is difficult to see these things. Varsha बाहर आ गए क्या? अरे बाहर क्यों आ गए? तब वापस जाओ. Move to room number 6. जाओ. Okay. रोशनी आपके साथ वर्षा आ गई? Okay. वर्षा जाओ, join in.
Yes, Prabhuji.
एक मिनट, लक्ष्मी को मैं भेजता हूँ. हरिप्रिया, लक्ष्मी अभी ज्वाइन मत करना. ज्वाइन हो गई. लता, आप कहाँ थे? Oh, damn it. उसको कैसे मैनेज करूं? Where is लता? लता आपने ज्वाइन क्यों नहीं किया? लता, कोमल बाहर आ गई. गुड, आना ही था बाहर. परेशान हो गई अकेले बैठ के. कोमल माता जी, I'm sending you with Pinky, room number 14. Join in. Komal, join in. Room number 40, join in.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
रूम नंबर 14 में चले जाओ, ज्वाइन इन. आपको आया है दोबारा, देखो ना. रूम नंबर 14 आया है, देखो, चेक करो. आया नहीं आया? कोमल, और डैम इट, फॉर गॉड सेक बात तो करो. ठीक. प्रिया माँ जी बाहर क्यों आ गए? उफ, प्रिया माँ जी बाहर क्यों आ गए? चली गई। तानिया माँ जी बाहर कैसे आ गए? आप तो जाए के साथ थे।
वो ना हो गया,
हो गया मतलब क्या हो गया?
प्रैक्टिस हो गई थी।
प्रैक्टिस हो गई तो बाहर क्यों आ गए? बैठो वहां पे, अपने आप ग्रुप बंद हो जाएगा।
अब कैसे जाते हैं?
भेजता हूँ, रुको रुको। अभी जो आएगा उसको क्लिक मत करना। अभी क्लिक मत करना। रुको, रूम नंबर 3। अब आएगा, आप क्लिक करना। रुको, जाओ क्लिक करो। पूजा माँ जी, वी आर इन द मिडल ऑफ एन एक्सरसाइज। एक्सरसाइज चल रही है, अभी आ जाएंगे बच्चे 2-4 मिनट में सब बाहर। आपको किसी ग्रुप में भेज देते हैं, ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। जाएं। घोषणा बाहर कैसे आ गए? जतिन बाहर आ गए, हो गया डन? यू गाइस आर डन?
यस प्रभु जी।
ओके। दोषणा बाहर कैसे आ गई? दोषणा, ओके, सम पीपल आर डन राइट, अब इसीलिए बाहर आ गए सीधा। ओके, लेट्स गो। हो
या
गया तो
टाइम
ठीक।
और
हाँ नहीं, ये तो मतलब ऑब्वियसली अभी जब टाइम ओवर होगा, मैं तो अभी देखा नहीं है। जस्ट वी गेव यू 8 मिनट्स। पिछली बार 5 मिनट दिया था तो आधे लोगों को समझ ही नहीं आया क्या करना है। आई बिलीव सो। जस्ट ऑल्सो वेटिंग फॉर अनुत्तम प्रभु। एक्चुअली बहुत लाइवली सेशंस होते हैं जब ये ऑन साइट होता है ना। ऑनलाइन इट्स लाइक ओके। जतिन और नेहा जी एक बैच में थे।
यस प्रभु जी।
गुड गुड। अनुत्तमा प्रभु
हरे
तुलसी के
कृष्ण
साथ
प्रभु जी।
गो ऑन। मुलानी, गो ऑन।
या जो लिसनर है उनको रेस्पॉन्स भी करना है या जस्ट लिसन करना है?
नहीं तो रिफ्लेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्स है ना। व्हाट यू
ओके
अंडरस्टूड। इफ आई
ओके
अंडरस्टैंड यू करेक्टली, that's like, yeah. Otherwise, if I simply listen, I don't respond, then like
इट लाइक
the person is possibly
मिसकम्युनिकेशन और
talking to,
कम्युनिकेशन गैप।
तो the person not in the communication, he will feel like he's talking to a wall.
ओके ओके ओके
वही तो बात सारा है कि रेस्पॉन्स करना क्या है। तो वही
टू
वही वही
डिफिकल्ट।
होता है। It's not difficult. It's just like it's right to your profession. You want to be a successful doctor, you need to know this. नहीं तो आप पेशेंट पेशेंट छोड़ो, और आप तो पहले उनसे पेशेंट को रिश्तेदारों से पिटोगे।
गॉट
So
इट
yeah,
गॉट इट।
it's like that. It's such a important life skill.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Yeah, जयवंती माँ जी, go on. Because we are waiting up, और 50-60 सेकंड में सब वापस आ रहे हैं। बंद हो रहा है ग्रुप।
प्रभु जी, मैंने दोनों मर्तबा मुझे पार्टनर मिले, और पहले पार्टनर से मैंने पहले प्रॉब्लम सुना, और जब मेरा टाइम होया तो टाइम खत्म हो गया था, मैं उनको प्रॉब्लम पूरी तरह से सुना नहीं पाई थी। और जो सेकंड पार्टनर मिला, उन्होंने कहा पहले आप अपनी प्रॉब्लम बताओ। तो जैसे मैंने अपनी प्रॉब्लम शेयर की, तो मतलब उनका रिफ्लेक्शन तो सही था, उन्होंने अंडरस्टैंड सही किया था, बट जो सजेशन थी जाहिर है वो मुझे लॉजिकली नहीं दे पाते, ऑफ कोर्स सबका अपना अपना एक
सजेशन देना भी नहीं था इसके अंदर।
हाँ स्टेट सबका अपना अपना
इस एक्सरसाइज के अंदर कोई सजेशन की गुंजाइश नहीं है।
हाँ बट रिफ्लेक्शन अच्छा था उनका, उन्होंने
बगैर सजेशन देके सुनने की आदत डालना, यही सबसे पहली चीज है, यही तपस्या है।
बट उन्होंने ये जरूर कहा था कि जो भी प्रॉब्लम चल रही है उनको कृष्णा के ऊपर रख दें, बट हाँ ऑफ कोर्स
सजेशन ना, it's just
करने वाले हैं,
suggestion
लेकिन ये लॉजिक बात
मैंने मांगा नहीं है सजेशन। ओके, वी आर बैक, एवरीवन इज बैक, वन इज बैक, अनंतम प्रभु is
प्रभु
back.
जी,
प्रभु,
अगर सामने वाला सजेशन मांगे फिर
सुने 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 wait, let Prabhu speak. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask for some of you to speak. I have to leave in 10 minutes, but I'm curious. Yeah, 1 o'clock. Yeah. Okay, was that let me ask a couple questions. Was that easy to do?
yes yes Prabhu ji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Really? For me, it's usually pretty hard.
Interesting.
Anybody?
Prabhuji, listening part was easy, but to tell about yourself to other, it was difficult for me.
Oh, that's interesting. There's a
I
big
think
culture.
opening up to the Prabhuji, opening up to the strangers was easy because the strangers doesn't know us, so that's why it's easy and they will forget our problems.
Yeah. Different culture. For Americans, it's very easy to talk about yourself. It's very hard to listen to others. So I'm glad you're all such good listeners.
But Prabhuji, it was hard to identify they are looking for a solution or they are looking for only reflect back.
Exactly.
Okay.
This was the difficult part.
Let me answer this. I've a lot of the South Asian culture I've seen, the tendency is I come to you with a problem and then I say, what should I do? Okay. Bimo Prashad Prabhu, I'm having a very difficult time. What should I do at the GBC meetings? Then he gives me some solution. He gives me some solution. I come back a week later. Prabhu, that didn't work. What do you think I should do? He gives me another solution. I come back a few days later. Prabhu, that didn't work. And he goes, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Then I say, okay, when you get it figured out, you tell me. You see? Now it's become his problem. It's not my problem anymore. It's become his problem. So all of you, you have too many problems already. You don't need anybody else's problem. So Prabhupada said our movement is meant for creating independently thoughtful devotees. Independently thoughtful. You know this term, yes men? We don't want to create yes men in our movement. We want to, by reflective listening, you help people think through their own situation, their own problems, their own strengths, their own challenges to become better devotees, better people. So, and we also know too, sometimes people, they say, give me a solution. You give them a solution, and then they go do the opposite anyway, right? So it's not, I know one time I was in Mayapur, I gave a lecture. I came out of the lecture, some young guy, I never met him before in my life. He wearing saffron, he came up, he said, Prabhu, should I remain a brahmachari? I never met this person. How am I supposed to give him advice? I don't even know who he is. I don't know if he's been a devotee for a week or for 10 years or 20 years. I don't know who this guy is. How can I get, but he's asking me, please tell me what I should do. So I sat down and I reflective listening. If I understand you correctly, it sounds like you're a little confused about what ashram is best for you to serve Krishna. And then he said, yes, what should I do? And I said, if I understand you correctly, you're thinking that I should probably give you the answer. And here's what Tulsi and I were partners. I said, you use what they call an open-ended question. A question that makes people think more. It doesn't lead to a yes or no answer. So you say, well, Prabhu, what do you think are the advantages or the disadvantages of becoming a grahasta or staying a brahmachari? It makes him think it through. I don't want to take responsibility. This guy gets married and he's a lousy husband. It's my fault. He stays brahmachari and he's a lousy brahmachari. It's my fault. That's not fair. I want to help him think through what he needs to do, how he should make his decision, whether he should be a Sankirtan devotee or a pujari, whether he should, continue with this degree to become a doctor, or whether he should, after 3 years become a nurse. That's his or her decision. That's not my decision. I want to help him as a servant of the Vaishnavas. I want to help him or her come to their own conclusion. Now, if they know me very well, at a certain point in time, we've been back and forth. Maybe I'll share, well, I was in a similar situation. Here's how I figured that out. But if that's the first thing I say, that's no good. Hari Priya, Radha, Devi Dasi.
Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat. Prabhuji, what if we are going through a same problem, a common problem? Like it's like we discussed right now, it was our same problem. Her concerns was same and my was same. But at that situation, what I reflect back, I said, yeah, I am going through a same problem. So what I reflect back to that problem.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. You just did exactly what we're trying to tell you not to do, which is that you talked about yourself. You're supposed to talk about her. It doesn't matter if you have the same problem. If you have the same problem, if anything, you're going to be more empathic. You're going to repeat. You're going to repeat. So if I understand you correctly, make it up. You're very concerned because your father has passed away, and you're not quite sure how you're going to be able to take care of your mother because you're in school in South India and she's in Delhi. You don't have to come up with a solution. You're not, that's what we don't want to do here. And she's going to say, yeah, I'm really, really concerned because my mother's here and my father passed away and I don't know what to do. And then sometimes, like I say, if you reflect once, twice, three times, and it's not going deeper, then you can ask an open-ended question. What do you think the possible solutions are? Well, my brother lives in Calcutta. Maybe she can go live with him. You help her think it through. You don't know the answer to these questions. Usually we don't know the answer. It's a skill to help make sure we're a good listener. Now, why are we including this in a broader course on communications? Because sometimes, we have to talk to our neighbors or our god sisters or temple authorities or senior people. If we understand how to listen, it's going to help us in all those different scenarios. So let's say where I am. If I go and I meet some people that are very critical of what ISKCON's doing, I need to be able to say, so if I understand you correctly, you're upset because we got a permit that was supposed to end at 10, but we went later. We were supposed to save a certain amount of noise, but we were too loud. We promised we wouldn't hurt anybody's lawn, but we ruined somebody's lawn, etc. If they hear that I've heard their complaints, that, like they say in America, the temperature of the room goes down just because I've understood, then obviously other things happen. I have to apologize. I have to fix the problem, make sure it doesn't happen again. But if I just say, no, well, it wasn't our fault. The dog barked and that's why the cart went on their lawn. Or it's not our fault we stayed too late. It rained for half an hour before we could start the parade. So it's not our fault, it's their fault. And they're not happy with me. So reflective listening is very important in all our relationships. Okay, so Hari Priya, it shouldn't have any effect. Maybe later you talk about I have a similar problem, but in terms of your service to them to reflectively listen, you don't want to start and go, so I have the same problem. Here's what I did. Sometimes that helps, but it's like they say, like a toolbox, right? If you open a toolbox, they have toolboxes in Pakistan, right? You have a hammer and a screwdriver and some nails. So if the only tool you ever use is a hammer is a good tool. It's good for putting nails in, right? But if somebody has a sore tooth, it's not a good tool, right? So this is another tool to add to your box, reflective listening. It doesn't work. It's not for every situation. Let's say Bimal Prashad Prabhu. Okay. I tell Bimal Prabhu, I lost my keys. Have you seen my keys to my car? He says, Anuttama, if I understand you correctly, you're upset because you lost your keys. Yeah, I did. But have you seen my keys? If I understand you correctly, you're getting more upset because you don't know where your keys are and you're in a hurry to go somewhere. Bimo, where's my keys? Have you seen my keys? Now I understand. You're getting very upset with me personally and you're getting angry. It's like it doesn't work in that situation, right?
You might not wait that long. I might
No.
get punched.
He'll just hit me. He'll just punch me, right? But if somebody has a problem or some complicated situation in life, or they have an issue with you, I go to Hari Priya Radha. I say, look, I'm very upset with you. And you say, no, I didn't do anything. It was her fault. it doesn't help. But you need to say, well, let me understand what this problem is. Say, well, Hari Radhika, whatever it is, you took my bicycle after the feast on Sunday and you drove it 3 miles across town and it ended up in the river and I had to pay to get it. I mean, whatever it is, you need to let me express myself. Okay? So I think we better stop. It's been a long time. It was a nice sangha with everybody. Yes, Bimo.
Just a last thing. There's a question. It is like pending. There's one of the devotees who asked, who couldn't stay back, and like they said, okay, at least ask this question, so that got it recorded. Because we were discussing about the principles in the beginning. So so their question is like hanging from that part, like how does one understand the principle of honesty in communication? And is it different from being truthful? Are they synonymous? Both are difficult to practice, and it might not also be in the best interest of key audiences in some circumstances.
Okay. So first, we should know that as Vaishnavas, we take 4 vows, right? For those of us that have decided to take vows, and the rest of us, we're still trying to practice those principles. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, which Prabhupada describes are to uphold the 4 pillars of religion, the first of which is truthfulness. And we read in this purport where Prabhupada is saying, austerity of the speech. I haven't actually read this in a while myself, but then he says, it talks about words that are truthful. Krishna says the first thing, austerity of the speech is words that are truthful. So, as far as I know, honesty and truthfulness are the same. Maybe there's some slight difference. I'd have to look at that. But as a general principle, we should be honest. I had a situation the other day. A neighbor ran into my car. Okay. And they were very nice people, and they came to pay to get the car fixed. Now, there was a certain part of the car that they paid to get fixed. When I took it to the repair guy, he was going to repair this part that they had broken and another part that only I knew was broken before. The repair guy didn't know that. The neighbor didn't know that. Only 2 people knew, me and Krishna. Okay? So it was about $700 to repair the car. If they'd repaired everything that this man said needed to be repaired, it would have been $1,100. The neighbor never would have known. My car would look more pretty, but I would have lied for money. Okay? So it was interesting that Krishna gave me that challenge, because I could have easily got another $400. Nobody ever would have known except me and Krishna. But I took a vow to be truthful. Okay? Now, we know if there's an emergency situation, okay? Sometimes we had a presentation at a men's retreat recently. A devotee was saying, philosophers have argued, somebody comes to your house with a gun, where's Lalita? I'm going to shoot her. And Lalita's in the back room. Maybe then you can lie. Okay, she's not here. Okay, you just saved her life. Okay, there's an emergency situation. Sometimes we don't tell the truth, but less than an emergency situation. And I don't know if in my entire life if I've ever had I'm 70 years old. I don't know if I've ever had an emergency situation that justified not telling the truth, And I've seen in my work in communications, my experience is every time we say something that's not truthful, we get karma for it. It comes back, as they say, it haunts us, So maybe you some short-term benefit, long-term it haunts us. And we all know we're conditioned souls. Sometimes we may make mistakes. But we should really, 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 really try. And I know I live in America where things are changing now, but generally people try to be very, very honest. I know in some cultures, you buy some land and nobody ever reports the actual price. Okay, you try your best to be as truthful as possible, but if the whole system is corrupt, be the most honest. If you can't be 100% honest, be the most honest. That we can do. I know in one of the communities I'm involved in leadership in Mayapur, around in the Mayapur region, sometimes they say, well, everybody here, it's all corrupt. You have to pay off everybody to get anything done. So I always make the point, okay, so that should be the last resort, not the first thing. The first thing, anytime there's a problem, you have to pay some corrupt politician. Okay, if you tried every other possible thing and there's no choice and this is what's necessary for Krishna, for the community, okay, you do it. But as a last possible choice, you try every other option first. Okay? Does that make sense, Bhima Prabhu?
Yeah, absolutely, Prabhuji. Absolutely. And yeah, before you leave, I just wanted to say just a couple of words. Actually, Prabhuji, this yatra, this Pakistan, you are quite familiar because of and many of these devotees also know Shamanand Prabhu. So because he can still come, and this is a new preaching going on for past 2 years. So most of these devotees, as you know, they have got this mostly coming from medical background, and you see the majority being females. Somehow the situation in Pakistan is such that we got more interested devotees who are females than males, and at the same time, this is the first of its kind of the Bhakti Shastri. The Bhakti Shastri also, of course, is the main theme, but we also wanted to use this opportunity to um, invite devotees like you, because many of them will never see outside of Pakistan and they will never meet devotees like you, and because devotees generally do not like to come to Pakistan, and you know that's an understatement. So this is was the chance, and that's why maybe the devotees are sometimes a little kind of overwhelmed also. English not being their first language, but this Bhakti Shastra is going on in English, and they're quite comfortable in English in that sense. But yeah, their idea, never met a proper disciple. You see, that's the background they're coming from. But then they got this association. I just take a 30 seconds for this. This is the association they got, so that we tried so that they can have Shana Krishi Prabhu, they can have Omila Mataji, Garu Prabhu. Shana Krishi Prabhu and Nirmala Mataji, they have already met. Now they're having a association. And yeah, we are planning to call this other emeritus devotees,
Very
so
nice.
that they can get that association. That's all. That's it. That's it, Mark.
You should try to get Vishaka too from the UK. Because I
Come
know
up, come again. Vishaka,
Vishaka.
yes, Maji. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
'cause you got mostly ladies here, so I noticed that on the poster was
Yes,
mostly men, so it'd be good to have more ladies too.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Let me try if we can get Vishaka Mataji. Yes. And maybe Rukmini Mataji if she has got time.
I think, she does a lot of online courses. In fact, I'll bring this to your attention since you brought up. This is she has something called Urban Davy. That's her on this side.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know, you can go. I just left these all around a few temples. If you look, if you just type in Urban Davy, they have a Sangha every week. And no, not every week, every month. I mean, there's a QR code. I don't know if all of you do QR codes. Anybody wants to take a picture of that? I don't know if it even will work. Or you can look up Urban Davy. If you somebody Google Urban Davy right now, see what,
Yeah.
does it come up?
Let me send the link then to
Yeah,
them.
because there's no website on here. But you could definitely invite her. She's a little sick right now. She's got a cold or something, but I'm sure she'd be very happy. And she's very good speaker. She's also one of the most senior devotees, disciples of Prabhupada, definitely one of the senior most ladies. She's been a devotee. She became a devotee at 16. And so she's been here a long time. And she has a lot of good realizations that she could share with all of you. So I'm sure she would be more than happy to participate. So thank you for
Yes,
the
Prabhu.
thank you for the opportunity in the Sangha. And yeah, I'll just mention, this world is, as Krishna says in the Gita, it's sukha dukkha. Every place has opportunities to become Krishna conscious. Every place has obstacles. You know, if you're born in a poverty-stricken situation, there's challenges, but then there's obstacles. There's advantages, more simplicity. And if you're a very wealthy situation, there's advantages, but there's lots of disadvantages, you know. If you're in a woman's body, there's advantages and there's disadvantages. If you're in a men's body, there's advantages and disadvantages. If you're highly educated, there's advantages, there's also disadvantages. You know, if you're American, there's advantages and there's a lot of disadvantages. If you're in Pakistan, there's advantages and there's disadvantages, you know. So Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that the question is, whatever your situation, how do you spiritualize that? And I'm getting some insight on this recently. I'll tell you one other thing. I mentioned that my car got damaged. There's a little bit more to the story. It's a true story, but this has happened a week ago. We live in an apartment. I came downstairs from the apartment. I was having one of those days that probably many of you medical students, sometimes you have a day, everything goes right. I mean, some days everything goes wrong, but other days everything goes right. You know, you get the person on the phone you needed, you get your test results back, you studied on time, some difficult concept becomes clear in your mind. Everything, you know, you relate, you know, your sister calls you and says she loves you, you're the best person. Everything goes right, right? So I was having a day like that. Everything was going so good. I came down the stairs to my apartment. I was honestly thinking, today has gone so well. It surprises me how good things have gone. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody smashed into my car. And at that moment, I looked up, my car came into vision because it's a parking lot, an apartment. My car came into vision. Somebody had smashed into my car. Just like that. I was thinking, it's been such a good day. The world is sukha dukkha. There's happiness and there's distress. It doesn't make sense. There's so much happiness today. There has to be some distress. Maybe somebody smashed into my car. And sure enough, somebody had smashed into my car. So it was like, thank you, Krishna, for showing me. So the same way we should always remember there's advantages, there's disadvantages in every situation. Somehow or other, put Krishna in front. Somehow or other, remember Krishna. You have the worst day of your life. Think, okay, Krishna, so many bad things are happening, but I believe you're my friend. I'm always going to have faith in you. I'm going to continue to be your servant no matter what. That's tremendous spiritual advancement in the midst of lots of adversity. And other days, so many things go very nicely, and you do what you can for Krishna. You have extra time. You read, you chant, you do some service, you memorize verses, whatever you do, you know. So remember that always. There's good, there's bad everywhere, and nothing can prevent us, as Queen Kunti said. There's no material impediment to becoming Krishna conscious, to awakening our love for Krishna. You know, there's one other section I wanted to do. We'll do it some other time, Bhima Prabhu. I wanted to talk about ISKCON's official policy on interfaith. Maybe let me do this. Sorry we're going so long. Well, no, we'll do it another time. There's that nice quote from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how when I enter other places of worship, seeing that other place of worship inspires me in my faith in Krishna. Beautiful, beautiful quote from him. Do you have that there? Oh, yeah. Maybe you can go over that sometime with everybody.
Some of the devotees are familiar with this. We had a kind of quite a elaborate discussion on this.
Okay, very good.
Considering Pakistan, so then it was even more relevant.
Very, very good. And if you don't have that, I don't know if that whole quote from Bhaktivinoda Thakur is in this booklet. If not, maybe you can send it to everybody.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And very beautiful. Okay, I better let you go because otherwise I'm enjoying your association so much I'll be here all day long. And it's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, and it's late at night where you are. So I'm overstretching my good fortune here. So thank you very much. A great honor to have your association. I pray that Krishna will bless each of you, empower each of you, inspire each of you, help you be healthy and happy in this life, and make steady progress despite the good and the bad and the ugly that comes in this world. Make steady progress in your awakening to the love of Krishna, and that you'll always know that Krishna is your best friend.
Yeah. So thank you. Premanju Prabhu?
Yeah, so Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhuji. and we are deeply, deeply, deeply grateful. And we hope to have more of such sanghas in the future. So maybe all the devotees can unmute themselves and let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to thank Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai Prabhupada.
His Grace
Jai.
Anuttama.
There's
Prabhupada.
wonderful devotees lined up to give you their association, so I'm sure you're going to be very inspired week after week and month after month. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you so
Jai
much, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada. Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna,